This is Atomic Shinobi and today I'm going to narrate third part of What If Naruto Became God of Wind. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Suna. Medical facility. It was another sweltering day in Suna, and medical staff members were frantically pacing the hospital's hallways. There was a straightforward explanation for the abrupt increase in tension within the building. Sabaku no Gaara, the cage, had a room on the last floor that was closely guarded. Half a day had passed since Konoha's heroic rescue attempt, which thankfully had ended successfully. Team 8, led by John and Yuhi Kurenai, made their comeback first. Running across the desert with the three team members arranged in a triangle around the cage, who was perched atop a massive dog. They were taken to the hospital right away, where emergency rooms were prepared to receive any injured patients. As the Suna Shinobi saw their leader alive and well again, they displayed a mixture of relief and joy along with fear and anxiety on their faces. Gaara was still carrying a number of wounds from his fight with the kidnapping member of Akatsuki. Moreover, he was suffering from extreme chakra fatigue. He likely had nothing to eat or drink during his captivity, so on top of all of this, he also displayed signs of malnutrition. Anyway, after everything he had just been through, it was a miracle that those were the only things he had to deal with. Right now, all he needed to recover was a good night's sleep. Village entrances. Even after the cage were saved, security remained on high alert since the kidnapping. Consequently, until further notice, the number of patrols and gate guards was doubled. Konoha had a detection field barrier, but Suna did not. The village's high, thick walls and constant sentinel posts around the perimeter made up its defense system. As the afternoon was coming to an end and the night shift members were ready to report, a Chunin noticed some movement. Naruto and the other members of the rescue mission gradually returned to the village while riding a massive dragon that materialized in the distance. After landing close to the village entrance, the creature released its passengers. "Thanks for the lift, Suzaku. I didn't have the courage nor the strength to cross the desert again after that fight." As he threw away his transport dragon, Naruto said. "Anytime, Naruto. Sama." The summon reacted and then dispelled itself. As Baki joined the guards at the gates, he said, "Welcome back. I trust that the other team safely came back with the cage." Jiraiya was asked. "Yeah, I really appreciate your help. Please come with me, I'll lead you to your friends and him," Baki answered. Hospital room. Gaara people cleared a space so Jiraiya and Naruto could inspect Gaara's Jinchuriki seal after allowing Chio and Sakura to check him and confirm he was fine. "What do you think, Ero? Senin?" asked Naruto following their mutual examination of the seal. "His ancient seal has been tampered with by whatever they did to him in that cave. When he wakes up, the Biju will increase its control over him unless we take action." Jiraiya nodded to his blonde pupil in response. "What do you think, Na-chan?" Vixen asked Naruto. "Ichibi had a long Dadago fight with the Hachibi that left him mentally unstable. Although I'm not excited about the idea of permanently isolating one of us, it's the best course of action for the host," Natsuki answered. "I told Gaara that we would examine his seal and perhaps figure out a way to simplify his life. I therefore wish to strengthen it rather than return it to its initial state." The Suna Shinobi in the room were stunned when Naruto made his announcement. "Really, you can pull that off? Why would you even improve his seal?" As Chio was the one who carried out the initial sealing procedure on Gaara, the question was asked in a shocked and embarrassed tone. "Yes, I would. He has essentially lived the same life as me, making him one of the few people who understands what I've gone through. Moreover, when he informed us about Orochimaru in the past, he saved Konoha. The least we could do is that." Despite the fact that everyone in the room was responding differently to his speech, Naruto spoke with conviction. Although the Konoha rookies were now aware of Naruto's burden, they had no idea that his life was so miserable. Sakura looked down in shame as Hinata and Kiba placed their hands on Naruto's shoulders, recalling all the things she had said to him when they were younger. "Because I trained Naruto in Fuinjutsu and he is descended from Uzumaki, I can assure you of his proficiency. I'll just watch and let him finish the sealing." Jiraiya spoke in favor of his pupil. Naruto and Jiraiya asked everyone to leave the room and began the ritual's preparations after receiving the go ahead from Gaara's family. Since Jiraiya and Naruto were not Suna Shinobi, Chio was permitted to stay and ensure that everything was in order. After leaving the room an hour later, the three only permitted family members to see their cage. Chio affirmed that all went according to plan. Now that the seal was in place, it had been enhanced to totally eliminate the Ichibi's power over Gaara. Now that he had a decent night's sleep, the cage could experience the same pleasures as everyone else. The Konoha ninja made the decision to remain in Suna for an additional week in case the new seal had unintended consequences for Gaara. After Baki had taken them to a hotel, they all went to bed. River Country. The battleground Zetsu, the previously identified member of Akatsuki, was searching through the remnants of the earlier battle. He was searching for something inside the cave where Sakura and Shio battled Sasori with another unknown individual who was wearing an unusual orange mask. They eventually located what they were looking for after some time. Sasori's ring was discovered, and it was the one that all of the Akatsuki members appeared to be wearing. They had no trouble locating Deidara's severed arm when they arrived at the scene of her death. Just as they lifted it off the ground, Deidara himself interrupted them. It appears that the jutsu he used to detonate himself was merely a ruse. Right before using the suicide technique, he made a substitution. Deidara reclaimed his arm and took the other two with him. Hotel. Room for Naruto. Following a restful night's sleep, Naruto felt refreshed. Though he was still mentally processing what had happened yesterday, he was aware that he was still insufficiently strong to face Akatsuki on his own. Without the help of his sensei Jiraiya, Itachi would have lost the battle against Deidara after managing to surprise him inside his wind dome. Natsuki was terrified by the thought that there must be more shinobi, either of that level or even stronger, out there pursuing him. To reach his goals, he vowed to study more and train harder. Observing Naruto's unease, Natsuki made the decision to talk. "I know you're worried about me, Naru-kun, but I don't want you to kill yourself over it," launched the vixen. "Yesterday, you were also present. They're going to take you away from me if I don't get stronger. That is not something I will permit," Naruto answered. "What about Sensei and your friends? And your aspirations to become Hokage? You have to consider them as well before acting hastily," Natsuki was asked. "I know they are strong, but I can't let them risk their life each time Akatsuki is out for me," said Naruto. "I'm not getting far enough with the seal. At the moment, I can only use your Yuki safely for 5 tails. The Mugen no Kyoji already takes 1 tail away when I activate it. After that, I can only access one of my bloodline's higher levels because each upgrade requires 4 tails of power," examined Naruto. "I just can't understand why the converter seal won't absorb more." Naruto is finished. "The seal your father placed on you is powerful. Maybe it was not made to be used that way or something else is blocking you," provided Natsuki with her meager understanding of the sealing arts. "The only ones who know more about the Shiki fusion are the Sandaime and Jiraiya. Maybe you should ask one of them about it." Then she continued. "My father's seal was never allowed for experimentation by Jijin, and I'm not entirely sure about Ero Sennin. I suppose I'll need to figure out how to inquire further of him," Naruto mused. "That's the only way we can figure out a way to get you out of there without also killing me. I want more for us. I want to hold you in my arms in the real world, like a true family, even though I know we have a great time together in the virtual world." Naruto spoke in a dejected tone. Natsuki was aware that Naruto would find family to be a reasonable topic. Before she was imprisoned within him, she had never given human emotions any thought. They didn't even really interact in her 2 prior hosts. Before being inserted into Naruto, she had never experienced love or loneliness. This was all because of the specific seal that was causing them so much trouble at the time. "You don't need to rush it, Naru-kun. Your enemies won't be so hasty to attack now that they lost 2 of their members," at last, Natsuki said. "I suppose you're correct. We'll discuss more later, Na-chan. I have to go check on Gaara." As he headed to get ready for the day, Naruto said. Hospital. Room. Naruto entered Gaara's room and saw that the cage was alone at the moment. He assumed that everyone was still asleep because it was still early in the morning. He proceeded to examine the changes he had made to Gaara's seal. Nothing appeared to be missing. He was about to leave the room after noticing that the cage was still asleep when he suddenly felt a surge of chakra. Glancing back, he witnessed the sleeping figure gradually waking up and shifting in his bed. "Hey Gaara, how are you doing?" questioned Naruto. "Naruto? What is happening?" I can't recall," were the perplexed inquiries of Gaara. "Now that you're safe, slow down a bit. I'll fill you in on everything," Naruto answered coolly. Then Naruto filled him in on everything that had happened since they and his sister left Konoha 5 days ago, including the nighttime repairs and strengthening of his Jinchuriki seal yesterday. When Gaara discovered what had transpired following his abduction, she was taken aback. Then he abruptly stood up and surveyed the space. "Is everything all right?" questioned a concerned Naruto about the abrupt response. The voice stopped, and I can't hear it anymore. When it finally stopped, I was compelled to listen to that voice at night, and never once in my life did I not lie awake. And it's gone now, Gaara remarked. It's a good thing, right? Questioned Naruto. I can never express how grateful I am to you and your people for your generosity. Ask for anything, and I'll make sure it gets done if it falls within my purview. Gaara answered in a somber manner. I'll settle down for a simple IOU from the cage. I may need it one day when I become the Hokage. Naruto grinned and said. Gaara did nothing more than nod. He knew the blonde would accept nothing. A doctor entered the room to examine Gaara, interrupting their conversation. Then, Naruto left the room so the medical personnel could take care of business. Village gates of Suna. The week went by rather quickly, and there were no obvious indications that the new seal was not working properly. One day after he woke up, Gaara left the hospital, but not before staying in his mansion and allowing Temari to take care of the village in his place. The Konoha group was finally ready to head home, and everyone was in agreement. Many ninja and civilians, including Gaara, Temari, and Kankuro, naturally, gathered at the gates to bid them farewell. The Konoha ninja eventually left after an awkward farewell and handshake in which the red-haired one gave the blonde a piece of paper with the letter on it. The Hokage office in Konoha, with no paperwork to complete and no council meeting planned for today, Tsunade was relishing a peaceful afternoon in her office. Everything was fine. A week prior, Suna had sent her a message informing her of the team she had dispatched to rescue the cage, and it had been successful. She was relieved to hear that 2 Akatsuki members had been eliminated while no one else on their side had been hurt. Shizune burst through the door of her office, her worried expression on display. She needed some time to catch her breath because she was panting heavily. What the hell is going Shizune? Tsunade inquired. Tsunade. Sama, it's terrible, you have to take a look at this. Her assistant answered, clutching an odd handbook. When Tsunade's gaze finally settled on the book, she recognized it as a bingo book. What's so important about the bingo book, Shizune? Questioned the blonde. It's about Naruto-kun. Look at his profile. Shizune nearly cried out. Tsunade remembered Naruto was in the A-rank section's watch list when she opened the book and looked at his profile. When she couldn't find it, her eyes briefly furrowed. What does this mean, exactly? Why did they abruptly delete his profile? I don't understand. A curious Tsunade asked. They didn't do that. Kindly refer to the following section in the book, the brunette answered. After realizing what her disciple had just said, Tsunade's eyes grew wide and she once more opened the book. After discovering what was finally causing Shizune to become so frightened, she dropped it a few seconds later. On her desk, the book remained open to the correct page, which read. Name. Uzumaki Naruto. Nickname. Konoha's Kase no Kami. Age. 16. Rank. S. Status. Jonin attributes. Kenjutsu, S. Ninjutsu, A. Genjutsu, S. And Fuinjutsu, B. Affinities. Wind bloodline. Unknown description. Has a very high affinity to the wind element. Sage of the mythical dragon summoning contract casts unbreakable genjutsu. Defeated A-rank Kiri Nukanen Momochi Zabuza the Kirigakure no Kijin as a genin. Defeated Sabaku no Gaara the Suna's Ichibi Jinchuriki as a genin. Defeated S-rank Konoha Nukanen Uchiha Itachi the Sharingan prodigy. Defeated S-rank Iwa Nukanen Deidara the Mad Bomber. Action. Kill on sight bounty. 100 million Ryo in Iwa, Aim and Kiri. Impossible. How did it spread so fast? Said a shocked Tsunade. Her precious day of peace had just ended. Unknown place. In a dark place stood 2 shadows, talking to each other. The book is out, it has been done as you asked, leader. Sama, said the first. Very well, Zetsu, replied the leader. Why did you leak those information about the Kyuubi? Asked Zetsu. This way, and with such a bounty on his head, hunters are bound to try to take him down, replied the leader. And why is it good for us? I thought we wanted them alive, said Zetsu. It is good because we know none of them will succeed. If he is strong enough to take down S-rank's members like Itachi or Deidara, then he won't die so easily. Even if we both know that he didn't actually kill those 2. Then the next time we see him, he would have already revealed a lot more of what he can do. Information is often the key to success, explained the leader. I understand now, so that's what you had in store for him, said Zetsu as they both disappeared in the darkness. Main gates, Konoha. From the time Naruto's group left Suna, it took them 3 days to arrive in Konoha. They had no problems returning home and decided to take only brief rests because they were all excited to get home. When they arrived, Katetsu and Azumoa, the perennial Chunin combo, greeted them. They were informed that Tsunade was waiting for them in her office right away after it was confirmed that everything was in order. Jiraiya sensed that something had to have gone wrong. Once they had returned with Gaara to his village, he had ensured that Tsunade received a preliminary report on their mission. Tsunade's impatient waiting for them therefore indicated that, after he sent her the initial report, something significant had to have occurred. All of them utilized Shunshin to get to the Hokage Tower, wasting no more time than was absolutely necessary. Office of Hokage Tsunade has been organizing documents since this morning. She found it easier to divert her attention from the predicament of her previous relative. She believed that Naruto was still returning from his mission to Suna, but he was unaware of the most recent changes to his bingo book profile. With such a large bounty on his head, she was afraid the best hunter nins would try to capture him before she could warn him. When she got the news, they were already well on their way back to the Leaf. The group led by Naruto arrived outside Tsunade's office. Seeing how nervous her master had been about the whole thing, Shizune got up from her desk and opened the door for them right away. When Naruto and Jiraiya opened the door, they expected to see Tsunade sleeping and a few opened sake bottles. But when they saw her employed and sober, they were taken aback. The blonde Hokage leapt from her seat and exclaimed, "Naruto, you're finally back. I was so worried, you idiot." She didn't even notice that there were other people in her office. As Tsunade eventually collected herself, Jiraiya grinned and said, "We're fine too, Haim." She sat down calmly after clearing her throat. "Good work everyone. I will take the time to read all your reports once you submit them. Now you're all dismissed except for Naruto and Jiraiya." Tsunade made the announcement. After bowing their heads to their leader and nodding to Jiraiya and Naruto, Kurenai, Hinata, Sakura, and Kiba departed to return to their separate residences. There were only Tsunade, Jiraiya, Shizune, and Naruto remaining in the Hokage office. Tsunade glanced at Naruto after swiftly closing the room. Curious, Jiraiya asked, "What's going on, Tsunade?" Tsunade ordered her disciple to take a book off of her desk and place it in front of the group, saying, "Show them the book, Shizune." Naruto looked at the bingo book in front of him and said, "What's with it? I already know that I have an entry in it. Apparently Ue is still mad at us, about the ass-whopping my father gave them in the last great ninja war." Jiraiya chose to investigate after piecing together why Tsunade appeared to be so concerned. He scowled as he turned to the next section after opening the book to the A-ranked Shinobi section. He returned the book to Naruto slowly after locating his student's profile. Jiraiya sighed heavily and said, "Look again, Naruto, they updated your profile with the latest data." Following instructions, Naruto's eyes grew wide upon seeing his updated file. Almost everything about his present skill set was correct. The most significant aspect, though, was his new standing. He was now regarded as an S-rank shinobi, and in addition, Aim, Kiri, and Iwa all wanted him dead. A concerned and perplexed Naruto questioned, "How is that even possible? There are things mentioned in my file that happened not even a week ago." Tsunade continued, "Actually, I was thinking about the same thing." "It's quite simple really, if you take the time to think about it," Jiraiya replied. Nervously, Naruto asked his master, "How is that so, Ero?" Sennin, not understanding what his master was talking about. "The only people who knew about those events besides us are Suna and Akatsuki," replied Jiraiya. Convinced that his fellow Jinchuki buddy would never betray him, Naruto said, "Suna wouldn't leak out info on me. I'm pretty sure Gaara would see to that. Then, that only leave on possibility, Akatsuki did it. Why would they broadcast their loss to us and therefore increase the competition in getting Naruto.kun though?" This time it was Shizune who said it. Tsunade finally realized, information gathering. They want to force our hand, or more precisely, Naruto's. Exactly. The more high-level enemies Naruto has to fight, the more data about him will be revealed to them. They have the confidence that Naruto won't die. It's probably because he already beat some of them, confirmed the Konoha spy master. "What will I do now? I was never a popular guy in Konoha, you know. With such a bounty even I would be tempted to sell myself to one of those villages that want my head," said a disappointed Naruto. Tsunade nodded to the younger blonde and said, "I think I have a solution for you, leave it to me. Just be here in 1 hour, I will call for an emergency council meeting. This will probably solve your problem inside Konoha. There's one thing I don't get though, I can understand for Iwa, but why do Kiri and Aim want my head too?" said Naruto loudly. Aim has always been at odds with us, Naruto. It was their leader, Hanzo the Salamander, that gave us the title of Sanin when we fought against him in the last great ninja war. We don't know much about that country, even today, so it wouldn't surprise me that they still resent us. Taking out one of our most promising shinobi must be their goal, Jiraiya said. Kiri is a little different though, it's not really Konoha they fear but you, or more specifically your name. The Uzumaki clan, as you know, is in fact from Uzushiobakure. Kiri was one of the countries that plotted the destruction of the land of our ancestors, Naruto. My grandmother, Uzumaki Mito, used to tell me stories of her homeland. The Fuinjutsu of the Uzumaki clan were greatly feared, especially by their close neighbor Kiri. Tsunade provided. Jiraiya and Tsunade nodded as Naruto spoke. I see, for the time being it would be best for me to avoid those countries, at least until we get more information about them. I'll see what I can do with my spy network. We need to gather more accurate info on them. Kiri is supposedly in a civil war between the Bloodlines holders' side and the Mizukage faction led by Gaara. However, AIM is a very secretive country. I may have to infiltrate it myself, Jiraiya replied. Naruto heard Tsunade's explanation of her plan. Now listen to what I have in mind for the council meeting later today. Subsequently, she vanquished her room sealing jutsu and dispatched an Anbu team to collect all members for the forthcoming council assembly. Room for council meetings there in the meeting room was every member of the council. The room was divided into 3 sections as usual. Each faction of shinobi, elders, and civilians was seated in its assigned spot. Tsunade was seated higher than the others in her Hokage seat, and Shizune was standing directly behind her. Jiraiya stood by Naruto's side as they stood outside the room. The meeting began when the Anbu manning the room closed the doors. Tsunade said, I will set some special rules for this meeting before we begin. Sensitive information will be disclosed during this meeting. None of you will interrupt me until you are given the right to speak. Should any of you disregard this simple rule, you will be removed from the room for the remaining of the meeting, regardless of your clan or status. Is that clear? Tsunade said, daring anyone to challenge her order. The room remained silent. Tsunade was known for having a short fuse and, in contrast to Sarutobi, for carrying out her threats. Very well, the meeting shall start then. We are gathered in this room today to discuss the status of one of Konoha's most powerful clan, the Namikaze, Tsunade said. The Namikaze were one of the first shinobi families to have joined Konoha after its founding. They produced many powerful shinobi and kunoichi in the past, our late Yondaime Hokage being the most striking example. However, during the last Great War, they lost all of their members except for the one who put an end to the war itself, Namikaze Minato. She reminded everybody. Now, with no official successor and as a standard procedure, all the funds and possessions of the Namikaze family have been frozen for the last 16 years. According to the law, if no official successor has claimed this inheritance before 18 years have passed, then the Hokage has the authority to seize it and everything become the village's property. The Hokage continued. Tsunade stood up from his seat on the civilian side and nodded to Danzo, saying, we are here to discuss about this inheritance before the deadline is over. The old manipulator began, I think it should be equally distributed among the civilian side, just before Tsunade cut him off. It won't be necessary, the ninja clans can also forget about the Namikaze scrolls that were sealed in the Hokage vault, Tsunade replied. The old war hawk replied, showing obvious disrespect in his tone and a smug expression on his face. What gives you the authority to decide such things, Tsunade? Last time I checked, even the Hokage wasn't above the laws that were signed by both the Shodem and the Fire Lord. Sarutobi thought as he looked at his student, the old fool is at it again. She may have fired Homura and Kaharu but Danzo managed to stay by the civilian side. Let's see how she deals with him. Tsunade gave him a glare and defied him to argue, saying, you can cut the crap with your empty threats and even then the Fire Lord won't be of any use to you in this case. A Namikaze heir has been identified, now sit down if you don't have anything else relevant to say. Danzo sat down with aplomb, his expression expressionless. He had long planned to steal the Namikaze inheritance for himself in secret, hoping that no one would ever find out, but on the inside he was boiling with rage. Tsunade nodded to Hyuga Hiyashi as he stood. Could you tell us more about this successor you've identified for the Namikaze clan, Hokage? Sama? Asked Hiyashi. Of course, that's the reason I called this meeting anyway. The Namikaze heir has been among us since the beginning actually. He is of course one of our most powerful shinobi and has the rank of Jonin. Tsunade chuckled. Tsunade nodded to the Anbu guarding the doors and continued, he has been summoned today in order for you all to meet him. He is behind those doors right now as we are speaking. There were 2 sets of footsteps coming from the meeting room as the doors opened. When the 2 enigmatic shinobi arrived at the meeting room, everyone's eyes grew wide as they recognized them. Jiraiya opted to remain behind Naruto, who was seated in the center of the room. One of the civilian council members said, impossible. It can't be. There is no way that Demo. Just before his head exploded in a shower of blood and his headless core fell to the ground. Naruto declared as he put his sword away. Until proven otherwise, the law about my Jinchuriki status is still in effect. It is perfectly within my right to punish anyone who doesn't follow that law. Danzo asked, without even waiting for Tsunade's permission to speak, do you have any proof that this boy is the Namikaze heir, Tsunade? Naruto began, emphasizing the last word with a sword flick to his hand. She does, and you better know your place when addressing her civilian. You will address her as Hokage Sama during the meeting, or I will remove you myself from the room for insubordination. Naruto went on. After expressing regret to Tsunade, Danzo was forced to step aside, even though he was fully aware that Tsunade had the right to kick him out of the room if she so desired. Tsunade, Sarutobi, Jiraiya, and the other members of the Shinobi Council all grinned at this. Tsunade nodded to her former teacher. As I was about to say, I have here Naruto's birth certificate, his blood test exam, and finally, Sarutobi. Sensei here can also testify that Naruto is indeed who I say he is. Naruto.kun was supposed to know about his lineage when he reached the age of 18 or the rank of Jonin. Minato also wished for him to live his life without having to fear the scorn of Iwa or any of the other numerous enemies he made during his shinobi career, be it outside the village or not. Sarutobi responded, glaring at his former rival Danzo as he spoke. He turned to face Naruto at that point, pulled a scroll from his robe, and handed it to him. But before he could act, it was evident to all that the scroll bore the renowned seal of the Yondaime Hokage. This, Naruto, is your father's will. It is protected by a blood seal that your father placed in order for it to not fall into the wrong hands. Only someone carrying his blood can open it. Sarutobi said as he gave him the scroll. Naruto bit his thumb and smeared some of his blood over the seal, which briefly glowed before vanishing. After reading the letter and letting tears well up in his eyes, Naruto returned it to Sarutobi. After glancing over its contents, Sarutobi decided to read the letter aloud to everyone this time. Minato gave his son Naruto everything in the letter, including bank accounts, properties, family money, and the compound. It verified the earlier claims that Naruto would receive all of this upon turning 18 or becoming a Jonin. The letter was then given to Tsunade by Sarutobi. Very well, I, Senju Tsunade, hereby validate the content of this will. With my power as Hokage of Konoha, I am pleased to announce the homecoming of the Namikaze clan back in our village and the nomination of Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze as its clan head. Tsunade made the announcement. Nobody was brave enough to voice opposition to Naruto becoming the head of the clan. There were tangible evidences to support his claim that he was Namikaze Minato's son. That was the swift end of the meeting. Office of Hokage. When Jiraiya returned abruptly from his promise to begin gathering information, Naruto and Tsunade were back at her office, and Shizune eventually left to begin her shift at the hospital. So now that you are officially the new clan head of the Namikaze clan, we can safely assume that attacking you inside the village will become much more difficult. The Namikaze compound is heavily protected with seals, so you should be safe inside its walls. Tsunade replied. Naruto grinned and said, all right, thanks Ba-chan. That solves my problem inside Konoha. Tsunade answered, what happened to Hokage Sama and respect, you damn brat? You know I'll never disrespect you in an official meeting. Nevertheless, you just officially acknowledge me as your distant relative during that meeting, so it is also within my right to call you by that name, you know. Naruto laughed when he said this. Rice Country. Unidentified region. Orochimaru and Kabuto were exploring the recently revised international bingo book in a dimly lit area. A third person entered the room, interrupting them. When Uchiha Sasuke arrived, Orochimaru threw the book to him. As he read the book's Naruto profile, his Sharingan erupted in rage. The passage about Naruto vanquishing his brother Itachi set his blood on fire. As he was about to leave the room, he dropped the book to the floor and heard Orochimaru's call. The snake asked, where do you think you are going like that, Sasuke-kun? The Avenger cried, I'm going to teach that fool a lesson. Orochimaru baited him, knowing full well that anything connected to Itachi could be used to sway the idiot in front of him. Everything in good time. Kabuto is going to meet someone in a very powerful organization next week. Their goal is to capture every Jinchuriki as Naruto-kun, and your brother was one of their member. We may learn more information about all this. You want to tag along? The Avengers deactivated his Dujutsu and slowly left the room. Very well, I'll see that contact of yours, Kabuto. He will reveal his information about Naruto to me or I'll kill him too. Orochimaru mused, Kukuku, soon, very soon I will get what I want. Compound Namikaze. Once inside his parents' home, Naruto thought back to the events of the previous day that had brought him Jiraiya, the council meeting, and the unlocking of his parents' residence. The house was enormous, so he had sent clones to investigate and get a general idea of how everything was laid out. He quickly discovered that his parents' belongings were still in the master bedroom, but he made the decision to leave everything alone and go to another room for himself. The library was another room that caught his attention. That was his current location. Blood seals also guarded the library room, which held all of his father's theories and research on every jutsu he had ever created or intended to create. He also discovered his mother's notes regarding the Uzumaki women's use of chakra chains to control Biju. The idea of someone trying to bind Natsuki with chains, even his mother, made him scowl. He was reassured by Natsuki, who said that she was also different at the time and that the context was different. Upon discovering the notes regarding the Rasengan and the Hiraishin, he chose to set them aside for now. He was already well versed in the Rasengan, and naturally, he was also aware that the Hiraishin was a powerful jutsu that enabled his father to travel great distances in an instant. But he was also interested in learning more about the Shiki fusion. Given the size of the room, he began to question whether his father had left anything behind. While looking, he came across instructions on how to add or remove any blood signature from the list of people who were permitted entry into the house using the seal system. He heard the bell from his gates all of a sudden. He noticed an Anbu waiting for him at the edge of his compound when he peered through the window. He was used to them using shunshin and showing up out of nowhere inside his old apartment, so this was new to him. Of course, from now on, such intrusion was barred by the seal guarding his home's perimeter. He sealed the library room once more and headed to the gates, cursing in his mind that he had not found the notes on the Shiki fusion. The Anbu was reported to be kneeling in front of him as they met at the gates, saying, "Namikaze. Sama, Hokage. Sama requires your presence in her office immediately." He reasoned that he wouldn't enjoy having people kneel in front of him and that he would have to get used to it. Naruto answered, "Very well, I'll go see what she wants." After completing his task, the Anbu departed. After making sure his compound was locked, Naruto utilized Shunshin to reach the Hokage Tower. Office of Hokage. When Naruto got to Tsunade's office, he noticed Sakura and Jiraiya were also present. He said, "What did I miss, Ba-chan?" Tsunade addressed her apprentice, saying, "Sakura, tell him what you know." Sakura had informed them during the River Country rescue mission about the conclusion of her battle with Sasori. It seemed that Sasori had a spy in Orochimaru's ranks that he was to meet in 3 days. The gathering is planned to happen on the Bridge of Heaven and Earth, close to Kusagakure. We also confirmed with Suna that Sasori is most likely using a mind control jutsu to activate dormant agents he places in enemies' camps. The victim is not aware of its conditioning and Sasori can activate his jutsu anytime he wishes as long as he is in range. That's how they bypassed Suna's defenses so easily. The captain guarding the gate was his sleeping agent and also the man you killed that looked like Itachi. Jiraiya continued. Gazing at Tsunade, Naruto asked, "I take it from my presence that you want me to participate in this mission?" Not that he could admit it to Tsunade or Jiraiya, but he was incredibly hesitant to give up on finding answers regarding the Shiki fusion. "Yes, I want you in for that mission. The objective is to collect any relevant information you can on Orochimaru, especially what he's been up to during the last 3 years. Someone will have to take the place of Sasori, be it you or not. Your unique genjutsu skills will come in handy for that task. Jiraiya will lead the mission, so I'll leave the strategy to him, and Sakura will be the support medic, just like she was for the last mission in Suna." Tsunade continued. Naruto said, "I don't know, I was actually in the middle something," but he cut himself off when Sakura moved in front of him. "Please Naruto, I know you don't owe me or Team 7 anything, but I beg you, please help us," she begged. When Tsunade saw her disciple's condition, she made the decision to step in. "That wasn't an invitation, Naruto. You are a Jonin now, you don't have the luxury to choose which mission you will or will not take anymore. You are leaving in 1 hour, go home and pack, you are dismissed," Tsunade said. As he left Tsunade's office, Naruto remarked, "Very well, Hokage. Sama." He was obviously unhappy with the way she had just pushed his hand by the tone in which he called her, tittle. "One last thing though, if we meet the Uchiha traitor on our way, don't expect me to go easy on him. I am not a lackey of the council, the Uchiha blood doesn't represent much to me, quite the opposite actually. Should he get on the way of our mission, I will put him down," Naruto concluded by walking away. After a while, Sakura departed as well to gather her thoughts. The scene that had just unfolded before Tsunade and Jiraiya's eyes left them speechless. Jiraiya simply closed his eyes and let out a deep sigh, while Tsunade stayed silent. "What's up with him? Why was he so aggressive all of a sudden?" asked Tsunade. "I don't know, the last time I saw him like that was in the 2nd year of the training trip. We were working on advanced level Fuinjutsu formula and he was still trying to develop the seal he now has on his heart. He was really annoyed by his lack of progress and used to snap a lot, replied Jiraiya. Tsunade began. Jiraiya assured everyone, don't worry, I'll bring them both back. Compound Namikaze. As he prepared for his next mission, Naruto was still furious over their previous exchange with Tsunade. Calm down Naru-kun, don't let your anger control you, Natsuki replied. I know, it's just that I'm so close to find some clues on how to free you, replied the brunette. Natsuki reassured him, saying, you can always do that after you're back, I'm not going anywhere, and neither is this house. I guess you're right, but I can't believe I have to go just so they can get clues on how their precious Uchiha is doing. After what they've done to you, I won't take any risk with the Emo King if we meet him, replied Naruto. Natsuki worriedly said, okay, I hate the Uchiha too, but you still have to be careful and remain in control. Naruto cut their link and walked out of his compound, saying, fine, I promise I'll be careful. We'll talk later now. Chan, it's time I leave for that damn mission. Kusagakure. After 2 days, within 2 days of arriving in Kusagakure, the group decided to get ready for the meeting. They conducted a reconnaissance mission to the Bridge of Heaven and Earth, the location of the planned meeting. Jiraiya made the decision that Naruto would portray Sasori, Sakura would play Sakura, and the hermit would hide and offer help when required. As a result, with Sakura's assistance, Naruto spent the remaining time training to behave like Sasori. He would conceal his voice and appearance with his ultimate genjutsu, Maboroshi no Sakai, and then take whatever information he could from the spy. When the meeting day finally arrived, everyone was in their proper places. Earth. Heaven Bridge. Alone in the center of the bridge was Naruto, assuming the identity of Sasori. Behind him in the forest were Jiraiya and Sakura. They didn't have to wait long because Naruto soon saw a shadow appear in front of him. The shadowy figure, concealed by a dark robe and hood, said, it's good to see you again, Sasori-sama. We were all shocked when the shadow removed the hood at last. Orochimaru's most trusted subordinate, Kabuto, was the spy. Naruto inquired, how are you feeling? The now identified Kabuto answered, my mind is still a bit clouded from when you released your jutsu, it took me some time to remember who I was. We don't have much time, if Orochimaru realizes my absence, I'm as good as dead. Kabuto continued. Tell me everything you know about the hideouts and Uchiha Sasuke, asked Naruto. He was informed by Kabuto about a few of the covert bases and that Orochimaru never stayed in one location for very long. In addition, he mentioned that Sasuke was with him at the moment and that they were currently at a base not too far away. Subsequently, Kabuto began to pose some challenging questions, the answers to which would only be known by a true Sasori. With his mission completed and the enemy about to find out who he was, Naruto got ready to defeat Kabuto. Before he could take action, 2 more figuresa, much more interesting ones, in fact, appeared out of nowhere. Orochimaru and Uchiha Sasuke were now standing on the other side of the bridge in front of Naruto. After 3 long years, Sakura finally saw her childhood crush. Her heartbeat quickened, and she was ready to charge in when Jiraiya intervened. With a sly smile, Orochimaru asked, what's the meaning of this, Kabuto? So that's Akatsuki, he doesn't really look that strong to me, Sasuke boasted. Without hesitation, Kabuto turned around and took up a guarded position next to the phony Sasori, prepared to take on the snake Sannin and his new pupil. You were trailed, Kabuto, continued Naruto, remaining in character. However, he was taken aback when a smug Kabuto struck out at him and attempted to kill him using a chakra scalpel jutsu. When Orochimaru and Sasuke witnessed Kabuto's scalpel pierce the fictitious Sasori Akatsuki's rabia, likely with the intention of cutting his heart, they both grinned. But when they witnessed Sasori's body gradually fading away following his strike by Kabuto, their eyes widened. The 3 Auto members all thought the same thing, that was genjutsu. A mocking voice asked, things are finally getting interesting, not going to flee today I hope, Orochi-chan? When Orochimaru heard the voice, he scowled because he couldn't place it even though he was certain he had heard it before. His eyes grew wide when, after a while, he finally realized who they were facing. The snake Sannin spat, show yourself, demon brat. As he slowly materialized on the other side of the bridge, Naruto exclaimed, so you did remember me after all, I'm moved. With his vest off and the original circle surrounding the 3 commas in his tattoo gone, he was already in his first stance, the Muga no Kyochi. Sasuke snarled, Naruto, upon spotting his brother's alleged murderer. It appears the rumors about you taking out all those S-rank shinobi are true since you're here instead of Sasori. Orochimaru remarked as Kabuto leapt back and positioned himself next to the snake Sannin. So that's Konoha's K's no Kami. I have to admit I'm impressed. You're still the same creepy snake you were the last time we met too, though I learned you tried to kill Itachi too in the past. Are you sure you really tried hard enough? It wasn't really difficult for me. Naruto replied with a smile on his face. Sasuke's Sharingan flaring in rage, he could take no more of it and launched himself at Naruto. Orochimaru nodded to Kabuto, telling him to take care that his priceless container for the future wouldn't be mishandled. Naruto never took his eyes off of Orochimaru, not even glancing at Sasuke and Kabuto as they approached. Just as they were getting close to the blonde, Sakura suddenly materialized in front of Kabuto, sending him flying away with a powerful blow. Sasuke felt himself being pulled into the earth as the ground beneath him began to tremble, thanks to Jiraiya joining Naruto at his side. It took Orochimaru a split second to get distracted when he saw his former teammate appear out of nowhere. In that split second, Naruto crossed the bridge and sent a devastating blow to the snake's jaw. Orochimaru flew backwards for at least 100 meters as a result. I'll take care of the snake, those two are yours, declared Naruto, who then used a standard Rasengan to completely destroy the bridge. Jiraiya called out to his disciple, Naruto wait, but it was ineffective because Naruto had already left. With Orochimaru and Orochimaru slowly got back up until Naruto materialized in front of him. The Sannin's face displayed an odd scar from Naruto's blow. It appeared as though it were peeling off to reveal the face of someone entirely different underneath. Nonetheless, Naruto was aware of the true Orochimaru's appearance, having seen a few old photos of the Sannin. Who the hell are you? The blonde inquired. Kukuku, I am the real Orochimaru, you are just looking at my current container, replied the snake. Naruto said aloud, so that's the jutsu you were developing that earned you the get out of Konoha card from Gigi. Orochimaru boasted, very perceptive, that's indeed my immortality jutsu, before putting his fake visage back on and charging at Naruto. They then tested each other's taijutsu skills in a mutual practice. Naruto believed that even though Orochimaru was not as strong as Guy, he was still swift enough to attack and get away from him when he was first released. He was also able to keep up with the Sennin because he recognized the snake taijutsu style that Enko had demonstrated for him during their spars. Orochimaru, gasping for air, said, you are quite good Naruto-kun. Sasuke-kun actually needs to activate his Sharingan with the 3 Tomo in order to match me in taijutsu. Naruto stepped back and said, I see, how about we kick it up a notch then? With his right hand, he pulled out his katana and gave his thumb a small cut. Then he repositioned his katana in its sheath and smeared some blood on his fox tattoo. After making the single-handed sign, he called his jutsu, Futon, Hyakuren Jitoku no Kiwami. As the wind around him began to pick up violently and the kama on his heart tattoo vanished. Naruto then launched another charge towards Orochimaru. Orochimaru was totally in control this time. Naruto seemed to have gained a great deal of strength and speed. The snake became aware that his entire body felt heavier and that breathing was getting harder. The Sannin growled, what did you do to me, before making hand gestures. Kaiten. Ryuka no Jutsu, Orochimaru exclaimed. A fire dragon was hurled in Naruto's direction. Just as it was about to hit him, it made an odd turn and veered off course, sprinting back toward Orochimaru with twice the strength and speed it had before. Orochimaru barely avoided the enormous fire dragon by leaping just in time. But as soon as he touched down, he was exhausted once more. Naruto asked, you're starting to feel it, and did you really expect me to answer you? As he carried on his attack. While Naruto did not even appear fatigued, Orochimaru was beginning to take more and more hits. Once more, Naruto caught him off guard and used a powerful taijutsu combo, leaving the snake Sannin's shattered body on the ground. As Naruto was about to defeat him, he noticed his opponent's mouth suddenly opening wide. Before him, the shattered remains of Orochimaru spat another seemingly healthy body of himself. After assuming a new form, Orochimaru made the decision to keep a distance from Naruto. After using hand signals, he unleashed a jutsu and called it Mandara no Jin. As thousands of snakes shot out of his mouth, aimed at Naruto. Before getting ready for his own jutsu, the blonde thought, interesting, looks like some Kachiyose just you, it still looks creepy though. He extended his right hand and created a single clone. While his clone charged wind chakra inside the orb, he executed a Rasengan. After a while, the Rasengan transformed into a massive Fuma Shuriken after the wind chakra was added. As his snakes were about to reach Naruto, Orochimaru taunted, you fool, I know about your jutsu and how you defeated Kabuto with it. You will never be close enough reach me with it. Naruto smirked and asked, who said I needed to be close, before unleashing his jutsu? Futon. Rasen Shuriken, he exclaimed, releasing the chakra orb driven by the wind from his grasp. As the flying Rasengan totally destroyed the wave of snakes that was approaching Naruto, Orochimaru's eyes grew wide. Orochimaru thought to himself as he readied his next move. The Mandara no Jin did not even slow it down. I have to act fast or even I could die if it hits me. He slammed his hands to the ground, biting his thumbs, and unleashed his jutsu, Kachiyose. Sanju Rashomon. Orochimaru's total defense materialized out of the ground, just as it did during the battle with Kabuto during Tsunade's rescue. But 3 doors were called forth as opposed to just 1. Everything went dark when the Rasen Shuriken struck the first door. Earth. Heaven Bridge. 4 figures were visible close to the demolished bridge. Right now, Sasuke was imprisoned by Jiraiya's Earth Jutsu. Even with the Sharingan, he was blind to Jiraiya's jutsu when he charged at Naruto and passed through the blonde's illusion field. Only the Avenger's head was visible above the muddy ground. The rest of his body was completely buried. Jiraiya quickly sealed a chakra restriction seal on his forehead to ensure he couldn't escape. The only thing keeping Sasuke from completely sinking into the mud trap and drowning was the rope Jiraiya was holding in front of his prisoner. Kabuto was not improving. It was too late when he followed his master's next container and saw Sakura's oncoming punch. The last thing he remembered about the Leaf Kunoichi was how feeble and useless she had seemed during the Chunin exams 3 years prior, and he deeply regretted underestimating her. As a result, he didn't use his strong healing ability when she delivered the first blow because he believed she wouldn't cause him any significant harm. How foolish he was! He could hardly stand up anymore. When his healing technique finally came into play, the damage had already been done. He was attempting to avoid Sakura's blows, but it was very challenging given his current state. He made the decision to flee until he recovered fully. The 4 ninjas looked to the other side of the bridge as they felt the ground tremble. They observed, from a considerable distance, Orochimaru's final defense jutsu swiftly emerging from the earth. The 3 demonic gates completely disappeared as quickly as they appeared, and a few seconds later, a blinding light burst from the same spot. The responses from this side of the bridge were not all the same. It was Orochimaru. Sama Sanju Rashomon Jutsu just now, he only uses it in extreme situation, Kabuto thought. Sasuke thought, I wonder what the idiot used to destroy those gates. That's Naruto's Rasen Shuriken, I wonder how the snake dealt with it. Jiraiya was puzzled. Sakura was totally unaware of what was happening on the other side of the bridge, asking herself, what the hell is going on? With Orochimaru and Naruto's jutsu completely destroyed the surrounding area, the wind his Rasen Shuriken created was so strong that it leveled a significant portion of the forest they were fighting in. There was a massive cloud of dust in the air right now. Standing placidly where he had been when he launched his jutsu was the blonde. He just watched the outcomes, seemingly unaffected by the wind technique's recoil. Though Orochimaru was nowhere to be found, he wasn't sure if that would be sufficient to eliminate the betraying snake. Finally, a few seconds later, the dust cloud subsided. An ocean of dead snakes, their bodies shredded by the slicing wind blades Naruto's jutsu created, lay in front of him. A short distance away, at the location where Orochimaru called upon his 3 gates of hell, lay a massive crater. Naruto saw his opponent's immobile body as he advanced toward Ground Zero. Orochimaru's body was covered in deep cuts, just like the snakes were. Just as Naruto was about to advance, something caused him to halt and raise his guard. It was the same Suna Orochimaru spitting on a different body, but this time the new body didn't appear to be as healthy as the one he had previously switched. In his third body, Orochimaru rose slowly to his feet. His body was covered in slashing wounds, though not as deep as the previous bodies, and he was panting, gasping for air. His jutsu did something to my chakra circulatory system. I can't properly mold my chakra. I've used most of it anyway with the successive body renewal jutsu. He doesn't even look tired. I can't stay here any longer. Orochimaru was thinking. With a sudden single-hand gesture, the snake Sennin looked directly into Naruto's eyes and exclaimed, Kanashibari no Jutsu. Naruto momentarily lost control of his body as a result of not anticipating the unexpected sneak attack. Though he quickly overcame the paralysis jutsu, he did not see Orochimaru's extended sword poised to pierce his heart when he looked up. Naruto instinctively made a defensive move. He called out, Senpo! Ryu no Hata, as his wings materialized out of his back and covered his entire body. Everything happened very quickly. The Kusanagi broke through the 2 layers of defense that Naruto's wings offered, halted its path an inch from his skin, the tip just above his heart, and then instantly withdrew. When Naruto let down his guard, he noticed Orochimaru's form retreating and attempting to flee. The snake was slower than he had been when they first started fighting, and even though Naruto was also hurt, his wings were giving him a lot of pain. Orochimaru thought to himself, to think he was able to block that attack, that's the move I used against the previous Kazekage, damn it, as he crossed the bridge to gather his 2 subordinates. Earth. Heaven Bridge Sakura and Kabuto were engaged in a fierce fighting match using taijutsu, and Jiraiya was still keeping watch over the trapped Sasuke. His strategy was successful. Kabuto's healing method restored the damage he had previously sustained while using taijutsu to stop Sakura. Just as he was about to attack and eliminate her, he sensed his master's presence. The extended Kusanagi suddenly materialized, headed straight for Jiraiya's heart. With no other option, the Toad Sennin had to release the prisoner and retreated. Sakura was thrown aside by Kabuto, who took advantage of her moment of confusion by giving her the backhand. Then he ran to save Sasuke, who was drowning, from the water. Orochimaru gave an order as he emerged from the area where the Kusanagi had appeared, saying, "We're leaving. Hurry up, we have no time to waste anymore." Kabuto obeyed his master right away, dragging Sasuke Uchiha's numbed body behind him. Jiraiya swore upon seeing Sakura's motionless corpse on the ground. Rather than going after the group of Auto Ninja, he went to help the Kunoichi, remembering his promise to Tsunade to bring back their 2 disciples. At this precise moment, Naruto emerged with his dragon wings still spread, coming from the same direction as Orochimaru. He descended slowly to Jiraiya and Sakura's position, then glanced in the direction their 3 opponents had just fled. After inhaling deeply, he shut his eyes. He cried out, "Senpo! Ryugan!" and then opened his eyes. Rather than the typical oceanic blue, their iris was golden in hue, with long, black pupils that were slitted. Then Naruto assumed a well-known stance and aimed his katana at the snake. He exclaimed, "Futon! Kamishini no Yari!" as his blade began to glow. Mostly due to years of experience and pure luck, Orochimaru was able to sense impending doom. He was able to dodge Naruto's long-range divine spear technique, which would have struck him squarely in the back. In the millisecond it took him to turn around and look back. The wind above his right arm was only a gush that he felt before it burst into a shower of blood. Because of the attack and the pain it caused, Orochimaru lost his balance when jumping trees. Just as he was about to go down, Kabuto grabbed him. With his body already weak, the medic ninja now had to carry his 2 companions, which was no easy task. But he managed, and eventually all 3 of them were able to get out of there without any more problems. Naruto let out a deep sigh upon realizing his attack had failed. Then he turned to rejoin Jiraiya and Sakura. Jiraiya said, glancing into his disciple's eyes, "So that's your dujutsu, you never showed it to me before." Naruto answered his master honestly, saying, "More like body enhancement due to my Sage mode, just like your resistance and strength in Gamma Sennin mode." Jiraiya laughed a little. "What does it do exactly? I mean, other than giving you a mean look in the eyes?" After teasing, Naruto returned to his serious demeanor. "Haha, really funny, seen your face lately when you use that Sennin mode of yours?" he asked. "The dragon eye gives me near perfect vision. I can see in high details on much higher lengths than the human eye. Then I also have an easier time to follow objects moving at high speed with it than normally. Finally, because of a wider wavelength spectrum sensitivity than for the human eye, it also allows me night vision," Naruto told his teacher. "Impressive, so that's how you were able to hit them just a moment ago, even if they were so far away," replied Jiraiya. Naruto slowly turned off his Sage mode, saying, "Yeah, there's really no point in having this long-range jutsu if I can't pinpoint my opponent's position. Well, now while we wait for Tsunade's apprentice to wake up, why don't you tell me all about your fight with my ex-teammate?" Jiraiya was told. Naruto began, "All right, but I'll tell you something right now. That teammate of yours is one sick freak." Jiraiya laughed at his disciple's mischief. Naruto described to Jiraiya the events of his battle with Orochimaru, from the moment he destroyed the bridge to the moment he reappeared before employing his long-range piercing technique. Anyway, it went like this. "Well, it seems this mission will end in failure. It can't be helped, it was a trap all along. Kabuto was most likely freed from Sasori's control by Orochimaru a long time ago." Jiraiya announced the news. "I seriously doubt that anything he told me about their bases is the truth either," said Naruto. "Let's not worry about that for now. There's something else I wanted to talk to you about." Jiraiya replied. What is it? Naruto inquired. I wanted to talk about the scene you made in Tsunade's office. Why were you so reluctant to be in this mission? Jiraiya asked. After letting out a deep breath, Naruto went to see if Sakura was still unconscious. He confirmed it and then turned back to his master. I'm trying to find my father's notes on the Shiki Fusion in order to find a way to free Natsuki without killing myself in the process. Naruto ultimately admitted the truth. Jiraiya became enthralled with Naruto's response. Now everything made sense. The last time he was acting that way was during their training trip, when he was also working on this subject. With a nod from Naruto, Jiraiya questioned, I suppose you're not making any progress then? After giving the consequences of telling Naruto about the key to his seal some thought, Jiraiya concluded that it was still too early. Don't give up, I'm sure you'll find a way. Your father was very secretive about those things, so I don't really know, Jiraiya replied. Sakura finally woke up after 2 hours and went straight to find the Uchiha Avenger. She stood slowly and asked, what happened? Where is Sasuke-kun? The mission is a failure. We could not get any intelligence on Orochimaru, and Uchiha Sasuke also escaped again. When Kabuto knocked you out, he and Orochimaru were able to free him and fled the area. Naruto managed to severely wound Orochimaru, though I'm pretty sure it was not the last of him we will ever see. Jiraiya responded while Sakura was looking down. Jiraiya was asked, what now, Arrow, Sennin, by Naruto. I doubt Orochimaru and his goons left any exploitable tracks, and it wouldn't be a good idea to charge after them either, now that they know about us. We have no choice but to cancel the mission and go back to Konoha, Jiraiya announced. You two will go back after you're fully rested. I have another mission waiting for me, the hermit continued. Naruto questioned, what? Where are you going? Jiraiya answered, to AIM, it's about your new status there. Naruto deduced that his master was referring to the infiltration mission, as a megacure wasn't too far away from their current location. After scowling and considering what Jiraiya and Natsuki had said, Naruto concluded that they were correct and that he could continue working on the seal when he returned. Convincingly, Naruto declared, I'm going with you, it's about me after all. With a proud glance at his godson, Jiraiya continued his speech. I'm afraid you can't go with me this time. It's a sensitive mission. Every spy I sent there was discovered and disposed of shortly after. It is best if I do this alone this time. It will lower the chance of being discovered. Plus I promised Tsunade that you and her disciple would get back to the leaf safely, and I too am a man of my word. Jiraiya replied with a grin. Naruto obeyed his master after realizing the reasoning behind his words, and a short while later, he and Sakura traveled eastward back towards Konoha, while Jiraiya traveled southward toward AIM. As they parted ways, Naruto yelled to his master, be careful, Arrow. Sennin, I'll see you in Konoha. The Hokage office in Konoha. Tsunade was sitting in her office right now, facing two people. They both appeared to be in their early years. So let me get this straight, your leader wants me to send you a ninja in order to help you win your civil war against Gaara. Tsunade replied. My name is Hiku Yuki and my partner is Chojuro. And yes, you are correct, Hokage. Sama. But we don't want any ninja, we want the Kase no Kami. We want Uzumaki Naruto. Replied the now identified Hiku. Tsunade sighed and braced herself for the impending confrontation with her favorite blonde Jonin, thinking, the brat is not going to like this, but it is a good opportunity to know what's going on in Kiri. Main gates. 2 days subsequently, 2 days after saying goodbye to Jiraiya, Naruto and Sakura returned to Konoha and were welcomed once more by Katetsu and Izumo. As before, they were instructed to report right away to the Hokage Tower. Though Naruto sighed at the Da copyright Yavu, he obeyed and went to Tsunade's office using Shunshin. A megacure simultaneously, a toad slowly emerged from the middle of a small lake in the country where the rain never stops. A man emerged from its open mouth and moved slowly to the ground. Successful infiltration, Jiraiya thought. The Hokage office in Konoha. As soon as they arrived, Tsunade gave Naruto and Sakura access to his office. After trailing the pair into her master's office, Shizune shut the door. When Tsunade saw the two of them enter her office, she grinned, relieved that Jiraiya had promised they would return safely. She could tell by the expression on Sakura's face that the mission was a failure. Even so, since Naruto held the highest rank during Jiraiya's absence, she gave him the order to submit his report. Glad to have you both back. I already know about Jiraiya's next mission. Now give me a report on your mission, Naruto, the blonde replied. Naruto filled her in on everything, including the fight with Orochimaru, how Kabuto was actually a double agent, and how they managed to escape. Tsunade gave her disciple a reassuring glance as she said, I see. Then this mission will be classified as a failure. I'm sorry, Sakura. The kunoichi asked her master, is there anything else, Tsunade? Sama? No, good work both of you. You are dismissed, Sakura. Naruto, you stay, replied Tsunade. Sakura departed the office after bowing to her boss. After telling Naruto to take a seat, Tsunade gave Shizune the order to call for some guests. For a brief while, just the two of them were silent, until Naruto made the decision to talk. Chan, there's something I wanted to say to you, he began. What is it? And how many times did I tell you to stop calling me that already? Replied Tsunade. I wanted to apologize for the way I acted before we left for the mission last time. I was preoccupied with something and let my temper get the best of me. I'm sorry, said Naruto. It's alright. I know you've been involved in a lot of things lately, and you never asked for any of those to happen. Jiraiya and I wanted for you to live a peaceful life too, but some things in this world are just impossible, replied Tsunade with a grin. Speaking of that, do you know anything about the place where Ero Sennin went to? Asked Naruto. Well, I've been there before. We faced their leader there once, with Jiraiya and Orochimaru. His name is Hanzo the Salamander and he is the one who named us the Sannin after he defeated us. We don't know much about their current status. Every spying mission in that country ended in failure. I told him it was too dangerous, but Jiraiya insisted to go. He told me that he would do everything in his power to protect you, Tsunade said with a grin on Naruto's visage. Naruto asked, so why did you want me to stay here anyway? Actually, it is linked to the mission Jiraiya is currently undergoing. Let's wait for the guests I told Shizune to summon and you will understand everything, finished Tsunade. Then Naruto just sat back in his seat as she carried on with her paperwork. Time jump. 30 minutes later, just as Naruto was about to nod off, Tsunade's office door abruptly opened. It was Shizune, and she had two companions with her. When Naruto finally looked up to them, even though he was still a little off, he recognized one of them right away. The blonde said, Haku, is that really you? Haku answered, yes, it's me. It's been a long time, Uzumaki-san. What are you doing here? And more importantly, where is that old fool Zabuza? I still have to thank him for putting me inside that damn book, said Naruto. It's a long story, why don't you sit back and let me tell you the reason I'm here, Haku replied. Naruto nodded and sat back down as Tsunade commanded, sit down Naruto and listen to him, this is the reason I told you to stay back after all. Then Haku began telling his tale. It seems that Zabuza made the decision to return home and attempt to overthrow Yagura once more after they left Wave Country. However, this time he needed to be more prepared than he was the previous time. His previous attempt, in which he attempted to attack the Mizukage directly, was unsuccessful due to a lack of men. As a result, he joined the side of the bloodline users in the rebellion. Yagura became paranoid following the Kagaya clan's uprising and began eliminating every bloodline user clan in Kiri. The clans were forced to leave their homes and organize the rebellion in order to avoid being wiped out. Few people are aware of their leader's true identity or appearance, who is quite mysterious. All that is known about him is that he is using not one, but two strong bloodlines. The civil war has been raging for many years. The rebellion has defeated the Mizukage on a few occasions, but they are still missing a vital component that will allow them to triumph definitively. They lack a fighter with the same level of firepower as the Mizukage Yagura, the three-tailed demon's Jinchuriki. And that is why our leader wants you to join our side, Uzumaki-san. It is a well-known fact that you once defeated the Jinchuriki of the one-tailed raccoon when you were only a genin. We also know of your more recent achievements. Would you please lend us a hand in stopping this war that has plagued our country for years? Asked Haku as he wrapped up his narrative. Naruto was looking to Tsunade for instructions, but she said, it's up to you Naruto, I won't force you to go this time. But don't forget that this may be a good lead to what Akatsuki has been up to since your name has come up in the bingo book with Kiri also wanting your head. After giving it some thought, Naruto realized that Jiraiya was putting his life in danger for him right now on a mission similar to this one. After taking a deep breath, he decided to tell the people in the room who were waiting for him. Naruto grinned and said, fine, I'm in. Tsunade had to warn him about something else too, even though she was proud of her Jonin and last surviving relative. Before you leave, there's something you must know. Konoha cannot officially support the rebellion. It could provide the Mizukage with a reason to declare war on us. We do not have the resources nor the will to go at war with another major village right now. Therefore, if you take this mission, you will have to leave anything that would identify you as a Konoha shinobi here before you join them, Tsunade stated. Naruto nodded, saying that he didn't want a war that would claim a great deal of lives for his village. Tsunade concluded as everyone departed her office, saying, "That would be all, you are to leave in 1 hour, dismissed." Compound Namikaze. After the mission in Kusagakure had failed, Naruto was at last at home. Luckily for him, packing was quick because he was practically a Fuinjutsu master and had everything he needed in scroll form. Keeping in mind Tsunade's admonition to maintain a low profile, he made sure to pack his leaf headband. He was finished packing because nothing else in his present gear revealed his Konoha affiliation. Since he still had some time before he had to leave, he made the decision to unwind a little. Naruto asked, "Na-chan, what do you know about the Sanbi?" "It's been ages since I last saw that overgrown turtle. His Jinchuriki should have a very high affinity to the water element," replied Natsuki. Naruto inquired, considering Gaara's situation and the negative impact Shukaku had on him, how was his personality? Do you think it has something to do with the Mizukage's sudden change of attitude towards the bloodline holders? With a tone of bewilderment, Natsuki remarked, "I've been thinking about it too, but something is strange. Sanbi was never an aggressive one, he always sought peace and tried to coexist with the human race. Then if it doesn't come from the Biju, something must have happened to the host. Before the Kagaya incident, Yagura was supposedly a gentle and peaceful leader. Something doesn't add in this story," Naruto said loudly. Natsuki warned him not to underestimate his opponents, saying, "Remember to be very careful, Naru-kun. It doesn't matter that you can control up to 5 tails. Even a genin could kill a cage with a lucky shot. Never underestimate your opponents. Don't worry so much, Na-chan. I promise I'll be careful. You'll be there to scold me anyway if I'm not," Naruto laughed. Naruto made sure to lock his manor and proceeded to the gates when it was time to depart for the mission. Gates of Konoha. Not that he was late, but Naruto was the last to reach the gates. Shizune and Tsunade were present to bid him farewell. Waiting for him were Haku and Chojuro, who were prepared to go. Naruto turned to the 2 kunoichi and said, "Well, I'm off again, Ba-chan, Ne-chan. Be careful out there, Naruto. You are a Jonin now. I trust that you will do well in your mission," Tsunade replied. Shizune continued, "Go and make us proud, Naruto-kun." And with that, he departed, going after Haku and his friend. Naruto asked Haku, "So what's the plan? Where do we go first?" "Our destination is Wave Country. From there we'll take a boat that will take us to one of the smaller islands surrounding Kirigakure. Our main camp is located on one of those islands. You will meet our leader there," Haku responded with a nod. Unknown place. Another meeting of the Akatsuki members was happening in a large, dark cave. The leader spoke, "Report, Zetsu. The Ichibi is under good guard now that we failed the first attempt on him. It won't be easy to go after him now. The security of Suna has been completely upgraded and the same tactic won't work again. The Nibi and Hachibi are both hidden in Kumo. We never had any contact inside and they don't trust any foreigner. We don't have much info on either of them. Sanbi and Rokubi are still in Kiri, though it seems the rebel faction is gaining territory over Yagura lately. It may be wise to take them out now. Yanbi and Gobi should be the easiest to get. They are left alone in Iwa and no one really cares about them. They live like hermits in the outskirts of Iwagakure. Nanabi is still hidden in Takigakure. The village defenses are weak, so we should have an easy time capturing it. Finally, the Kyubi is still a problem. I managed to spy on him during his fight with Orochimaru. Our ex-member was utterly dominated by him. In addition to what we already knew about him, it seems he completed a new version of the Rasengan. It is a jutsu he can throw, contrary to the version developed by the 4th Hokage. Orochimaru deployed his Sanju Rashomon against it but was still overpowered. Right now, he's in Konoha. Zetsu concluded his investigation. We will concentrate on the easier targets for now. Itachi and Kisame will go to Iwa. Kakuzu and Hidan will go to Kiri. Deidara and Tobi will go to Taki. Konoha, Suna and Kumo are still out of our reach for now. The leader was announced. Each member then ended his communication jutsu and vanished into thin air. Otogakure. Subterranean base Kabuto was by Orochimaru's bedside as he lay in his chamber. The medic said, "I have the results of your medical exams, my lord." "What did that damn brat do to me? Why can't I properly mold my chakra even after regenerating my body?" asked Orochimaru. "The analysis have shown that you suffer from damages to your chakra circulatory system. His wind attack seems to act like a poison that slowly disables your capacity to use your chakra network. I've never seen anything like that. It interacts with your body to the cellular level. There's nothing you can do against it in your current body. Even with the body renewal jutsu you used during your fight with him, it would be the same. The disease is spreading through your chakra, replied Kabuto. Orochimaru remarked, I see, so there's only one solution to this. Yes, my lord, you will need to transfer your soul again to a new container. That's the only way to escape that curse, the doctor confirmed. The Sennin inquired, speaking of that, what is he up to right now? He's training as usual. He does nothing else than that nowadays, aside from brooding of course, replied Kabuto. Orochimaru demanded, how are the preparations for the ritual? While changing a bandage for his master, Kabuto remarked, everything will be ready in 3 weeks. Good, restrict his movements to inside this base only and never let him out of your sight from now on. I've gone this far, it's finally time I collect. Orochimaru laughed. As he departed the room, Kabuto answered, as you command, my lord. Little Island, to the south of Kirigakure. Naruto and the 2 rebel members arrived at the rebellion's main base after a 3-day journey. The thick mist that shrouded the area around them served as the rebel camp's natural defense. A middle-aged man with an eye patch welcomed them at the base's main gates. He went by the name Ao and appeared to be a senior rebel leader. Just as they were ready to enter the main building, Ao intervened. I will have to ask you to hand over your sword and put on those handcuffs before you are presented to our leader. He asked Naruto for it. When Naruto noticed the seals engraved on the handcuffs, he knew that as soon as he put them on, they would totally block his chakra. Listen now, old man. I came here to help you win a war, not to become your bitch. Now you have a choice. You will let me pass and go meet that leader of yours, or I'll simply turn back and leave the same way I came. I wouldn't advise you or your men to try to stop me either. If you thought Gaara was a cruel man, you surely won't enjoy what I can do. Naruto spoke with an icy tone and unleashed killing. Anyway, I may be alright with handing over my sword, but you sure as hell can be sure that I will never put those cuffs on, he continued. Unsure of what to do, Haku and Chojuro forgot that Ao was a very cautious man when it came to security, even though they were aware of Naruto. If he consented to put on those cuffs, he would be totally helpless. As soon as they saw each other coming, the guards around them stiffened and raised their weapons, but a different voice cut them off. A voice that Naruto instantly recognized commanded, "That's enough. Stand down, all of you put your weapons down." The guards retreated from the man's path as he slowly left the main building, and Naruto was greeted by a face he hadn't seen in 3 years. "Zabuza," growled Naruto, thinking of the man he saved on the wave mission, but primarily the man who gave him his nickname and his first bingo book profile. Rebel base on Southern Island. As soon as Naruto noticed Zabuza leaving the building, the tension reached a breaking point. The former Kiri Shinobi approached the blonde with composure, but halted upon witnessing Naruto touching his katana. "Relax, there's no need to blast your ki. Killing intent, all over the area like that, it will only serve to alert Gaara and his forces that our base is here," began Zabuza. "So we finally meet again, Momochi Zabuza. Don't think for a second that I forgot the wonderful present you gave me 3 years ago, after I went through the trouble of sparing your life on that bridge," replied Naruto while maintaining a defensive posture. "You didn't complain at the time. I believe I said something like, 'Your generosity and your skill shall reach your enemies, even before you have had the chance to meet them on the battlefield, young man.' And that's exactly what I did. You, on the other hand, still letting me leave after I said that, kinda gave me the authorization to proceed," Zabuza replied in a sarcastic manner. Naruto was mentally reliving the scene, and his eyes grew wide. Speaking again, he loosened his stance and took his hand off his katana. "Alright, I will concede with you on this. However, you guys can keep on dreaming if you think for a second that I will let you seal off my chakra. Speaking of that, I sure hope you aren't the mysterious rebel leader Zabuza, or this war won't be a long one," Naruto said in a mocking voice. Zabuza laughed at the jibe, but ignored it. It was a significant accomplishment that the tension was finally decreasing. If the hit list in Naruto's bingo book profile was any indication, the last thing they needed was to go up against someone of his rank at this particular moment. "I see you're still cocky as ever, but don't worry, I may be of high ranking in the rebellion, but I'm not the leader. Come with me, I'll introduce you to the real leader and you don't need to put the chakra restriction cuffs on either," replied Zabuza. "I cannot allow this, Zabuza. We don't know anything about him. You can't be serious about him meeting the leader with no restriction," shouted Ao. Knowing exactly how to put his comrade under pressure, Zabuza baited him, saying, "I will vouch for him, don't worry. We're the ones asking for a favor after all. Unless you want their meeting to happen here in the open, I could always bring the leader here instead." This time, Ao put his foot down. Zabuza knew it and turned to face Naruto, who sighed. "That would be even worse. Alright, fine. He can go inside without the cuffs, but I still want the katana gone. After drawing and tossing Haku his katana, Naruto eventually trailed Zabuza inside the structure. Principal Island. Walking slowly through the dense mist on Water Country's main island were two shadows. They both displayed their loyalty to Akatsuki by donning red clouds on black robes. The first one had purple eyes and medium-length silver hair. His robe was partially undone around his neck, exposing a forehead protector with the slashed Yugakure emblem worn as a choker. On his back rested a scythe with 3 blades. The second one was tall, with dark skin and a strong physique. His face was hidden behind a black face mask and a white hood, revealing only his eyes. Those eyes were oddly colored, with a red sclera and a green iris devoid of pupils. He had a forehead protector on that had the Tokigakure emblem scratched into it. The first one said, "Who are we going after first? If you used your head for a moment, Hidan, you would realize that one of the target will be way easier to get than the other one," replied the second time. Hidan yelled at his partner, "Which one is it? Wait, did you just call me an idiot, Kakuzu?" Ignoring his associate's tirades, Kakuzu answered, "You think? Anyway, the easier target would be the Rokubi, since he is isolated while the other one is the Mizukage and has a personal army at his disposal to protect himself. I'll kill you one day, you hear me? Where are we going to find him?" Hidan replied. "You wish you could. Zetsu spotted him on one of the eastern island of Water Country." Kakuzu brought it up. "I'm sure I'll find a way, Jashin. Sama will have your head," Hidan replied. As they vanished into the mist, Kakuzu said, "We lost enough time on this island, let's go." Meeting room at Rebel Base. Naruto was shown into a room that resembled the council chamber they used in Konoha. He was still accompanied by Haku and Chojuro, with Zabuza and Ao trailing closely behind. Naruto was drawn to a woman who was standing in the middle of the room. She appeared to be a thin woman in her 30s. Her red hair fell to her ankles. Her eyes had a light green color. She was wearing a dark blue, long-sleeved dress that hung just below her knees. She had a mesh shirt on underneath that exposed more of her upper body than her dress, but it left a large cleavage and didn't cover her shoulders. She wore mesh leggings that reached over her knees underneath her dress and shorts that matched in color. At last, she wore sandals with high heels and shin guards that covered her knees. Haku bowed to the woman and said, "Mei Sama, we brought back reinforcement from Konoha as discussed." Mei looked at Naruto and said, "I hope that there was no trouble during your mission to bring him back here?" Haku began, "Well, we encountered no problem in Konoha nor on the road to get here but hesitated to discuss their contentious earlier exchange at the gates. Cyclops here wanted to force me to wear those lovely handcuffs of yours, though I politely declined. I was about to force my way back to Konoha when Zabuza arrived and kindly invited me in, on the condition that I surrender my katana, which I did," Naruto replied as he glanced back at Ao. Zabuza nodded, and Mei turned back to Naruto with a heavy sigh. "I'm sorry for his behavior, but he was only thinking about my safety. In the past 3 years, Gaara sent countless assassins to kill me. He managed several times to come close to achieve that objective, planting his agents in my army. The only ones I fully trust with my life are in this room. My name is Terumi Mei and I am the leader of the rebellion," she replied with a grin. "I understand. I'm also sorry for overreacting like that, but I had no reason to trust any of you guys. For all I know, this could be a very elaborate plan from Kiri or Akatsuki to take me down. Let's work on that trust thing then. My name is Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. I am also the one named Kase no Kami in the bingo book, courtesy of our common friend Zabuza here. I'm here on a mission to assist the rebel forces to take down Gaara the Mizukage," Naruto said. The name, Namikaze, stunned everyone in the room, but Mei was the first to gather herself. "Namikaze as in Minato Namikaze?" the woman inquired. "Yes, the fourth is my father. Not many people outside Konoha's High Council are aware of that, but I'll trust you with that information on me," replied Naruto. It surprised everyone in the room that he would blatantly confide in them with such private information. Now that they knew, they could all look at Naruto and see the face of the renowned Yondaime Hokage. Mei commanded, "Haku, give him his katana back." Just as Haku was ready to comply, Ao objected. The man asked, "Is it really prudent, Mei Sama?" As Naruto retrieved his weapon, the redhead said, "Yes it is. He trusted us with his real name and lineage. The least we could do is to trust him back." Naruto grinned and said, "Now that it's settled, why don't you tell me how we're gonna take down Gaara?" Mei gave him the current situation involving her rebel army and the loyalists. Gaara lost authority over most of the islands surrounding Kirigakure during the past 3 years. All he still has complete control over is the main island. They've been preparing the last assault for weeks, but they still needed a surprise to win the decisive battle. They required a person strong enough to equal the might of a Jinchuriki fully capable of controlling his tailed beast. Mei concluded, "So that's where you come in, Uzumaki-san. I see, I do have a way to deal with a Jinchuriki, but I'll need your assistance," replied Naruto. "It will take a couple of days to gather the troops and equipment needed for the final battle. You can stay and rest in this base while the preparations are in progress," Mei concluded. Just as she turned to leave the room, Naruto barged in. "Just one last thing, I thought Kiri also had the Rokubi Jinchuriki, what about him?" replied Naruto. "Utakata escaped years ago, all we know is that he's hiding somewhere in one of the islands surrounding Kirigakure. We tried to find him and make him join our cause, but we never encountered him," Mei responded and left the conference room. Kirigakure today was the big battle, and it had been 2 days since Naruto joined the rebels. The rebel forces, split into 4 equal groups, planned to launch 4 separate attacks on the main island. A smaller task force was to infiltrate the village and go straight after Yagura, while the troops under Yagura set out to defend their borders. It was an easy plan. Remove the head, and the rest would come out soon after. Naturally, Naruto was part of the advanced group infiltrating Kirigakure. He was accompanied by Ao, Zabuza, Haku, and Mei, with Chojuro spearheading the assault of the main army. Right now, they were watching battalions of Kiri Nin loyalists leaving the village to go to the front. Mei asked Ao, who oddly had a Byakugan under his eye patch, "How is it going so far?" Naruto chose to overlook it for the time being. "Very good, Mei. Sama, Yagura is sending out most of his troops to defend the island. I estimate that only 1/10 of his army is still within the village," Ao stated. As their squad approached Naruto, who had activated his Maboroshi no Sakai Genjutsu field to conceal everyone's presence, Mei gave the order, "All right, start the operation then." A voice interrupted them as they were almost at the Mizukage tower. Naruto and his group were approached by a massive water dragon that exclaimed, "Suiden! Suiryuden no Jutsu!" The water beast needed to be at least twice as big as the one Zabuza used in Wave Country to battle Naruto. Those who weren't quick enough to escape were washed away as the technique crashed straight into Naruto's wind dome. Out of the 15 elite shinobi, Naruto, Mei, Zabuza, Ao, and Haku were the only 5 that remained. The force of the water current broke the necks of the others. The surge of water-charged chakra affected and dispelled Naruto's genjutsu. Naruto asked, glancing at the roof of a building from which the water dragon had been launched, "How did you notice our presence? No one should be able to see past my genjutsu." "Yagura," Zabuza uttered, observing Naruto's direction of gaze. "No matter how powerful your genjutsu is and how it affects my human senses, there's one thing you can't hide from me," replied Yagura. "My Yuki," Naruto uttered, his eyes widening. Yagura answered, "Exactly, what are you doing in my country, Kyuubi?" The others were taken aback by Yagura's disclosure because none of them had any idea that Naruto was a Jinchuriki, much less the one for the Kyuubi no Kitsune, the most formidable demon. But since the element of surprise had just been removed, they had to save their questions for later. Naruto yelled, drawing his katana, "I came to kick some turtle's ass, of course." As Yagura went after Naruto, a group of Kiri Anbu suddenly appeared on the scene and attacked Mei and her guard. Yagura and Naruto together. Yagura was brandishing something that looked like a big staff with a larger end than the other. They were fighting at a high level of kenjutsu. Naruto attempted to confuse Yagura with his genjutsu, but it was unsuccessful once more because Yagura was able to anticipate and parry each of his thrusts because of the small Yuki that they all contained. When it appeared pointless to fight close to each other, Naruto attempted to create space by aiming his blade at his opponent. "Futon Kei's Shinso," declared Naruto, launching an instantaneous attack on Yagura with his wind blade. Yagura exclaimed, "Suiden! Mizukagami no Jutsu," as an odd watery circle materialized in front of him. Oddly enough, the very jutsu that Naruto launched was the one that stopped his move midway to its target. The blonde conjectured that Yagura's mirror jutsu reflected or duplicated his own jutsu in everything he did. Naruto attempted a different strategy. He continued to unleash single kunai meant to strike his opponent's critical organs, but Yagura deftly dodged each one. Then, with the next one, Naruto deliberately missed and made some hand gestures, while Yagura just let the poorly thrown kunai go by. "Futon Sabama Gashi," he exclaimed, and the kunai abruptly split into 15 copies and veered in the direction of Yagura's exposed back. Yagura exclaimed, "Suiden! Suinjanheki, as a massive column of water emerged from the earth to shield him from the kunai. The Mizukage blocked another of Naruto's signature moves, and he cursed. Then, as Naruto launched his next jutsu, he thought, he won't block what he can't see. Naruto called his wind dragon Futon. Futon, Furyuden no Jutsu. Naruto targeted the wind beast at the base of the water column, and it hit its mark perfectly, destroying the entire area. Sadly for the blonde, nobody managed to escape the water's shield. Did you really think that I had to stay at the base of the wall to feed it with my water chakra, like a sitting duck? Yagura asked, rising to the top of the column and maintaining his hover above the ground with his arms outstretched. Chakra feeding the water jutsu. Yagura then cried out from his elevated position, Sweden. Suishoha, as a massive wave of water formed and headed in Naruto's direction. Naruto exclaimed, Senpo. Ryu no Hada, as his dragon wings protected him from the water strike. For the first time in a long time, Naruto was growing weary in this battle. He was getting ready to do something. When Yagura saw the dragon wings and their defensive ability, he was a little taken aback. This hesitation cost him because he failed to see Naruto make his next move. Naruto let out a small cry, Futon. Kamishini no Yari, and used his guard to launch his divine spear technique from between his wings. The Mizukage took a hit despite using his experience to dodge at the last second. He was bleeding heavily from his shoulder and was falling to the ground rather quickly. He was going to look up and raise his guard as soon as he touched the ground when he noticed that Naruto was already getting close to him with his next move. Yagura heard only, Futon. Rasen Shuriken, before everything went black. The chakra shuriken powered by wind ripped through Yagura, severing so many areas of his body that not even a Sharingan could count the number of wounds it caused. When the jutsu subsided, Yagura's lifeless body lay on the ground. Naruto felt a huge spike of Yuki, and just as he was about to reach out for him, he suddenly leapt back. As Yagura slowly stood up, the Sanbi's chakra enveloped her. He was in a hybrid form, with 3 chakra tails floating behind his back and a chakra shroud covering him. The changed Yagura cried, What did you do to me? I can't regenerate as I usually do when I activate my Yuki. Naruto answered, You really expect me to answer you? Anyway, let's kick it up a notch, shall we? While revealing his ultimate form. He thought to himself as he called his jutsu, he's finally drawing out Yuki, no point in battling a Jinchuriki in a stamina contest, I'll have to use the other form. As the wind began to pick up significantly, Naruto exclaimed, Futon. Seiki Kanpatsu no Kiwami. Yagura lunged at him, giving the blonde a taijutsu battle. As she and the other 3 had just finished their opponents, Mei exclaimed, Be careful Naruto, in this form everything he hits is instantly trapped into coral prison structures from the initial point of contact with his Sangosho. With a nod in her direction, Naruto gestured for them to follow by raising 3 fingers. They gave in to his demands after realizing what he wanted. Yagura yelled, It doesn't matter if they help you, no one ever came out of this alive. As Naruto kept closing his eyes and dodging his blows, the walls and floor surrounding them changing into coral formations and Yagura going missing. After counting to 3, Naruto abruptly jumped back and exclaimed, Now. As he was doing this, Mei, Ao, Zabuza, and Haku materialized out of nowhere, forming a perfect square with Yagura at its center, surrounding the changed man. The 4 rebels then each pulled out a unique looking kunai and firmly planted it in the ground as Naruto summoned his jutsu. Naruto exclaimed, Uzumaki Hijutsu. Akuma Sokubaku Wana. Immediately after emerging from the ground, 4 black chains wrapped themselves around Yagura's body. Yagura was rendered immobile very rapidly as a result of the draining effect. Then, launching himself in front of the Mizukage, Naruto readied his last move. His fingers were radiating a purplish looking chakra, and his right hand was ready for an open palm thrust. Gogyo Fuin, he exclaimed, slamming Yagura's stomach with his right hand. Yagura's body had the chakra shroud dispelled instantly, and he collapsed to the ground unconscious. I guess the was is over, Naruto said, deactivating all of his techniques and collapsing to the ground. He then slowly closed his eyes and drifted off to sleep in the middle of the street. Kirigakure Medical Center slowly opening his eyes, Naruto pondered his location. He knew right away that he was in a hospital because of the peculiar chemical smell and the room's overall white color. He hurriedly exited the bed and attempted to speak with Natsuki, his girlfriend. Chan, are you here? Questioned the blonde. I'm here Naru.kun. It's good to hear your voice again. Natsuki answered. What took place? I was fighting Yagura in Kirigakure when I last remembered anything. Naruto said, looking perplexed. You used up all of your chakra, won the battle, and then passed out. Your body just shut down because you were so low on chakra and energy that you weren't even able to access your mindscape. My sense of the outside time in here is a little off, so I'm not sure how much time has gone by since that occasion. Natsuki informed him. No point in worrying about it alone in this room. Let's go find Mei and the others. In response, Naruto spoke. Then he opened a spare set of clothes and got dressed. On the little table to the left of his bed, he saw that his katana had been placed. He left the hospital and his room as soon as he had all of his equipment back on. He moved slowly toward the Mizukage tower, recalling its appearance. He took the long and safe route since he didn't feel the need to use Shunshin and didn't want to put too much strain on his body right after getting over chakra exhaustion. As he made his way to the tower, he noticed with some surprise how others were staring at him. The people in his village were in awe of him and showed him admiration instead of the fear or hatred he was used to. Not sure what was going on, Naruto chose to keep his distance and only gave them a quiet smile in return. He quickened his pace and reached the tower. Mizukage office. Mizukage tower. As Naruto approached the leader's chamber, he was given access to the Mizukage office right away. When he entered, he was relieved to see Mei sitting behind the desk. Despite being in a daze, he was able to identify a few faces from his trip, but the majority were strangers. It seems you're finally awake, Uzumaki-san. I was starting to think you would never wake up after you lost consciousness at the end of the fight against Gaara. As he entered the room, Mei spoke to him. I kind of came here to talk about that, so just call me Naruto please. What is the situation and how long did I sleep for? The blonde inquired. Sure Naruto-kun, if you say so. A certain vixen in his mind made a tick mark appear on Mei's head as she spoke, grinning. Then Mei spilled the beans to him. To start with, it has been a week since your altercation with Gaara. As anticipated, the Loyalist army completely crumbled in a matter of hours following their master's defeat, making it easy for our forces to defeat them. Mei got going. Right now, the majority of them are being housed in a makeshift camp we established outside the village. We will evaluate each of them physically and psychologically before determining who is eligible for reinstatement and who is not. Those who have committed crimes against us, bloodline users, will stand trial and, should they be found guilty, face execution. The others will be forced to leave Water Country, she went on. Furthermore, it appears that Gaara and his men frightened the majority of the village's civil population. He was unstoppable, and everyone lived in constant fear that he would believe them to be bloodline users and murder their entire family. After we retook the village, they were relieved to see our troops defeat the Loyalists and have been incredibly helpful and cooperative with us. Grinning, she said. After everything was finished and we had taken all of them, a makeshift council was established, and I was chosen to lead them as the new Mizukage of Kirigakure. Gaara, a unique case, is being held in a cell in the Anbu headquarters basement. He is constantly under guard and has his chakra fully sealed off. It appears that since waking up 2 days ago, he has forgotten everything and not the civil war, not the bloodline purge, nothing. It seems like all those years he was living in a dream world. It appeared from our best interrogators that he sincerely believes none of those things ever happened, Mei concluded. So I guess he won't remember anything about me being in the bingo book with a huge bounty for my head in Kiri, said Naruto. I apologize. I understand you came here to learn more about that as well. For this reason, even if his crimes are true, I have decided that he cannot be put to death because we still need him, Mei stated. She reassured him nevertheless, realizing that Naruto did not appreciate seeing another Jinchuriki treated like a disposable item. I'll give you the 2 reasons I have to keep him alive, so please don't worry that I meant to use him as a weapon or anything. First of all, since we don't know how a Jinchuriki dies, killing Gaara could potentially spell the end for all of us if a Sanbi were to be released after its host passed away. Second, by keeping him alive, we will always have the opportunity to learn what happened to change him from a kind and calm leader into the insane monster he turned out to be. We could simultaneously find out why he placed such a large bounty in the bingo book on your head. Mei gave him an explanation. I understand and apologize to you for judging you too fast, Naruto said, stooping in humiliation. Don't worry about that, we're friends, right, Naruto-kun? Mei grinned as she spoke. Of course, Mei-chan. Naruto grinned broadly and spoke with conviction. Additionally, don't stress over the bingo book. I'll see to it that Kirigakure removes the bounty on your head, even if Gaara is unable to provide us with more information. Of course, if you let me, I'll improve it even further, he heard the redhead say. What do you mean by that? Naruto inquired. You may have noticed on your way here how the people looked at you, asked the new Mizukage, and Naruto nodded in response. It turns out that some of them witnessed you battle Gaara, and by the end of the week, Everyone in the village knew who had vanquished the despot. I am aware that you were expected to carry out this mission in secret, but Konoha is no longer in danger now that the previous Mizukage is no longer involved. I am aware of your great pride in serving Konoha, but if you accept, I would like to offer you a position in Kirigakure. If accepted, you will become one of the 8 swordsmen, joining the other 7 members of the group. Mei told her friend the news. However, I can't, I am. Naruto attempted to talk. Please pay attention to me before you say no. I would have loved for you to actually join us, but I know where your heart is. What I've proposed is an honorary position. The greatest rank I can bestow upon one of my shinobi is the 8th blade of Kirigakure, and that is what I want for you. You would remain a Konoha shinobi with all the other 7 members' authority and power, Mei clarified. Why would you give me a position of such authority? The majority of people in my village fear and despise me, and I am nothing, asked a skeptical Naruto. Naruto-kun, you are our savior, and we will not accept anything less. Fear not, for we will also formally begin peace and alliance talks with Konoha. However, the people of Kirigakure desire that you join them, even if it is only as an honorary member, Mei answered. Then I will also honor your people by becoming the 8th blade of Kirigakure. Once more bowing before Mei, Naruto made an announcement. I appreciate you telling me that you wish to return to the leaf as soon as possible, Naruto-kun. The doctors cleared you to go, but I would suggest spending one more night here before leaving the following day. Mei grinned as she spoke. I think I'll follow your advice, Mei-chan. I'll visit the village since I've never been here before, and then tomorrow morning I'll head back to Konoha. The blonde answered and then walked out of her office. Eastern Island is water country. At the same time, Hidan and Kakuzu were slowly emerging from a dense forest on a deserted island east of Kirigakure, Hidan carrying a young man's body over his shoulder. Damn, that one sure was a pain with his strange bubble techniques, the man with silver hair whinnied. It is your own fault, saying that you could take him out alone, you idiot, his partner answered. However, I've never mentioned the other 2. You know that you could have stopped those 2 annoyances from joining the fight, Hidan yelled. It's not like they could kill you anyway, what are you complaining about? Kakuzu spoke calmly. You allowed them to go, and that fuckery Jinchuriki prevented me from joining them as well. I swear, Jashin. Sama will have your soul, Hidan went on ranting. The Jinchuriki was the only one with a value, the other 2 were worthless, Kakuzu answered. Hidan remarked, there you go with the money again. Just shut up and let's go get our next target, Kakuzu went on. How will we get him? You said that he was protected by his army, Hidan inquired. They won't risk killing him because it might unleash the 3-tailed beast that is inside of him, even though it appears that the rebellion has won the war. When the time comes, we will retrieve him from wherever they have moved him to, that is safe, his partner answered. Why the hell am I the one carrying this one anyway? Hidan yelled. You're the one who defeated him, so you're responsible for him, until we deliver him to the leader, Kakuzu answered. Lucky you. You cannot be killed, bastard, Hidan remarked as he continued. The lucky one is you. As they both vanished back into the night, Kakuzu uttered those words. Gates to Kirigakure Main at first light, Naruto left his hotel and headed toward the gates of the village. The village was deserted, and he could still recall how everyone had treated him with respect and admiration when he had visited yesterday. He pondered whether the time would come in Konoha for him to experience the same level of treatment. He walked mindlessly toward the gates, getting so engrossed in his thoughts that he didn't realize he wasn't alone until he was almost there. When Naruto looked up, his eyes grew wide. Mei, Ao, Chojuro, Zabuza, Haku, and nearly every other villager in Kirigakure stood in front of him in the gates. All of them desired to bid their savior farewell. Take care of yourself, Naruto-kun. Natsuki cursed in the seal once more as Mei kissed him on the cheek. I will, Mei-chan, you two take good care of your people. To the redhead, Naruto answered. I'm sorry I was rude to you when we first met, Naruto. Ao bowed down and said. It's forgotten already, Ao, you only did your job. Naruto gave him comfort. It was a pleasure meeting you, Naruto-san, Chojuro said shyly. You are a member of the 8 swordsmen too, Chojuro. Be more confident in yourself. Declaring that he would show the young swordsman the way, Naruto spoke with resolve. Be careful on your way back, Naruto-kun, said Haku. Don't be alarmed. I will. You can ask Yagura. I'm not one to be taken lightly. Naruto grinned and said. You better not screw up, Gaki. Now that you're a member of the 8 swordsmen, even an unofficial one, your actions reflect on us all. Don't forget it. With seriousness, Zabuza said. You can rest assured that I will never tarnish the name of the swordsman of Kirigakure. In response, Naruto spoke. With the applause of the masses and the grinning faces of his newfound companions, Naruto then departed the village of the Hidden Mist. The Hokage office in Konoha Tsunade was not having a good day. Normally she did not believe in superstitions, but today she kept experiencing odd things. She broke her favorite mirror first thing in the morning while putting on her makeup. She broke her favorite sake cup into several pieces after dropping it on the floor of her office. Eventually, as she was ready to leave for lunch, she unintentionally knocked a photo of herself, Jiraiya, and Naruto off her desk and onto the floor. She had completed the majority of the paperwork she needed to complete for the day by now, which was the afternoon. Trying to catch her breath, Shizune burst into her office. She seemed to have a Mizukage scroll for Tsunade. They were both concerned about the contents of the scroll because only Shizune and her knew about Naruto's most recent mission. Is Naruto-kun alright? I hope his mission is a success, thought Shizune. Something must have gone wrong. It's too soon. I hope he was not caught by Yagura, were the thoughts of Tsunade. After confirming that the scroll bore the Mizukage's seal, the Hokage proceeded to open it. Her eyes and her disciples grew wide as she skimmed through the letter. Greetings, Hokage. Dono, I am pleased to notify you that the Kirigakure civil war has officially ended and send you this scroll. As the former rebel leader Terumi Mei, I sent Haku and Chojuro to Konoha in order to recruit one of your shinobi to aid us in winning this war. I am the Kirigakure village's new Mizukage as of right now. Your subordinate performed a great service to you in us, and his involvement was crucial to our victory over Yagura and his army. He will be arriving in Konoha in a few days after departing Kiri today. We wish to formally begin discussions with Konoha regarding peace and alliance treaties. Enclosed within this scroll is a small token of our appreciation for your village and the sent shinobi. Warm regards. Godem Mizukage of Kirigakure, Terumi Mei. That fucking brat, he did it. I can't believe he helped them win the war in just 2 weeks, stated Tsunade. What's sealed in the scroll, Tsunade? Sama, a curious Shizune asked. The master and disciple's eyes widened once more when Tsunade used chakra to unseal the item that was sealed inside the scroll that Mei sent. It was the new edition of the bingo book. Shizune ignored the Da copyright Yavu as she turned to the S-rank section of the book and gave her master a look at Naruto's profile. It said, Name: Uzumaki Naruto. Nickname: Konoha's K's no Kami. Kiri's 8th blade. Age: 16. Rank: S. Status: Jonin. Attributes: Kenjutsu S, Ninjutsu S, Genjutsu S, Taijutsu A, and Fuinjutsu A. Affinities: Wind bloodline. Unknown description. Has a very high affinity to the wind element. Sage of the mythical dragon summoning contract casts unbreakable genjutsu. Member of Kirigakure's 8 swordsmen defeated a ranked Kiri Nukanen Momochi Zabuza the Kirigakure no Kijin. Defeated Sabaku no Gaara the Suna's Ichibi Jinchuriki. Defeated S-rank Konoha Nukanen Uchiha Itachi the Sharingan prodigy. Defeated S-rank Iwa Nukanen Deidara the Mad Bomber. Defeated S-rank Kiri Yondaime Mizukage Yagura the Sanbi's Jinchuriki. Action: Kill on sight bounty, 100 million Ryo in Iwa and AIM. They removed the bounty on his head from Kiri, analyzed Shizune. That's not all, it says member of Kirigakure's 8 swordsmen, and his stats have been upped again. Tsunade added. Well, isn't he already a S-rank shinobi? Why is it important? Asked Shizune. You may not know about it since their profiles have long been removed from the book, as they are all dead, but there is another rank above S-rank shinobi like Naruto or me. In Konoha only one man ever reached that rank, Namikaze Minato, Konoha's Kiroi Senko and SS. Ranked shinobi with a flee on sight order. Tsunade told her disciple. So Naruto-kun may one day reach that level if he continues to improve? Demanded the brunette, worried about her surrogate little brother. I don't know, Shizune, I don't know, Tsunade replied. They were about to close the book when the ground shook. Looking outside, the Hokage and her disciple could see Gamabunta, Jiraiya's summon. With him was a smaller toad, Fukasaku the elder. What are you doing here, Fukasaku? Sama, where is the pervert? Tsunade asked. I'm afraid I am the bearer of bad news, Tsunade. Shan, Fukasaku replied. Main gates, Konoha. After choosing to use one of his dragon summon transporters rather than a boat for his journey, Naruto returned to Konoha from Kiri in just 2 days. He wanted to return to his compound and resume his search for his father's notes on the Shiki Fujin as soon as possible, now that he was at last in front of Konoha's gates. If Natsuki's response to Mei making fun of him was any indication, he could tell that, even though she remained silent about it, she was beginning to become very irritated. His only hope at this point was to locate his father's research on the seal, so he was disappointed that Jiraiya didn't have more details. While his primary objective was to free Natsuki, he was also aware that the Shiki fusion had something to do with his current power growth issue. He needed to be able to use more Yuki than the seal currently permitted him to in order to unlock the next level of his bloodline. He became aware of his weakness after his battle with Gaara. It would be impossible for him to beat more than one opponent at Gaara's level at once. Since he was too weak to defend Natsuki, he was afraid that Akatsuki, who always had two members moving together for their missions, would hurt her. As he approached the checkpoint, Shunin guard Azumo jolted him out of his reverie by telling him that he had to go see Tsunade at her office right away. Naruto was starting to get used to being called into Tsunade's office as soon as he arrived in Konoha following an extended mission. And so, without more thought, he headed straight for the Hokage Tower. Office of Hokage Tsunade was seated behind her desk, chatting with a small toad in front of her when Naruto entered her office. Beside him, Shizune, who had been surprisingly silent upon seeing him, shut the doors to her master's office. Naruto bellowed, "I'm back, Tsunade Ba-chan, my mission is accomplished. I already know Naruto. The Mizukage sent me a scroll earlier. I will read your mission report later, but for now there's someone you need to meet." Tsunade responded with a low tone. Naruto said, glancing more closely at Tsunade's guest, "Sure, who is it? And what's with the old toad? I thought you were summoning slugs while Arrow Sennin was the one summoning the toads." "Watch your mouth, Naruto. He is one of the two elder toad sage Fukasaku Sama, from Mount Myoboku," Tsunade screamed. Naruto bowed to Fukasaku and said, "I see, please forgive me for my rudeness. What do you need me for, and where is Jiraiya, sensei?" Fukasaku questioned, studying Naruto with his eyes. "So this young man here is Jiraiya's last student?" "Yes, Fukasaku. Sama. This is Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto, son of Uzumaki Kushina and Namikaze Minato, another one of your previous summoner and our fourth Hokage. Naruto traveled the world with Jiraiya for 3 years and was also taught by him during that time. However, he already had another summon contract with the Dragon Clan from his mother's side, so he never signed the Toad contract, much to Jiraiya's regret," Tsunade responded. The elder Toad sage said, "I see, there's no easy way to say this, but Jiraiya is dead, Naruto." As he struggled to take in the information, Naruto exclaimed, "What? Naruto-kun." Shizune touched his shoulder, but he remained motionless, engrossed in his own reverie. "How?" he exclaimed, eventually gathering his composure. Then Fukasaku revealed everything to him. Shortly after entering a megacure, Jiraiya was discovered. He engaged in combat with an Akatsuki member, but it was unclear which of them was the mysterious group's leader. The opponent wielded the Rinnegan, a fabled jujutsu purportedly derived directly from the Six-Path Sage. The most unexpected finding was that the Rinnegan was possessed by not one, but 6 shinobi wearing Akatsuki robes. Jiraiya employed every tool at his disposal to combat them, even calling upon the 2 elder toad sages for combat. He could somehow find out that one of them was limited to summoning skills and that the other one had the ability to absorb or deflect ninjutsu moves. Jiraiya was able to capture the one employing summons in one of his toad trap jutsu, as well as an unidentified Omegakure shinobi who had some knowledge of them. The toad now had possession of their bodies. Jiraiya had the option to leave, but ultimately he decided to stay and fight. He made a crucial discovery at the last second, but before he could announce it, his opponent crushed his throat. Before the Akatsuki members silenced Jiraiya permanently, he was able to use his last breath to use chakra to carve a coded message on Fukasaku's back. Fukasaku concluded his story by saying, "That's how it happened. I was right there with him until the end." Naruto needed to leave Tsunade's office because he was breathing heavily and couldn't take it any longer. Without saying anything, he left the room abruptly. Tsunade told Shizune to let him go when she attempted to stop him. "Leave him be, Shizune. He needs to have a moment alone," Tsunade replied. Fukasaku continued, "I can see in his eyes that he really cared about Jiraiya." "I'm sorry, Fukasaku. Sama, I know you wanted to tell him more about the prophecy, but he wasn't in the right state of mind," replied Tsunade. The older toad left the room as well, saying, "It's quite alright, Tsunade. I'll come back again tomorrow." After making the decision to return to her duties, Shizune left Tsunade by herself in her office, and the blonde Hokage shut the door. When she was finally by herself, she broke down and cried for the first time in a long time. because she was too obstinate to acknowledge her feelings for him. The pervert passed away without ever realizing how much he truly meant to her. By then, it was too late. Alongside Naruto for hours, Naruto wandered aimlessly through the streets of Konoha until he found himself inside Training Ground 7. After Uchiha Sasuke's betrayal, Kakashi's team was dissolved, so it was no longer in use. Naruto paused before the memorial stone, a sizable stone slab etched with the names of Konoha's heroes for all time. His attention was drawn to the last edition, which was his master's name. He didn't move for several minutes while he just stared at it. A voice behind Naruto uttered, "I had a feeling I'd find you here." "Gigi, it's been a while," was Naruto's response to his adoptive grandfather. "Says Sarutobi, how are you doing, my boy?" Naruto said in a dejected tone. "Not so good, Gigi. I assume you've been told about Ero, Sennin." The Sandaime Hokage answered, "Yeah, I heard about Jiraiya. I suppose I also came here to gather my thoughts about my former student." Without glancing at the elderly man, Naruto inquired, "And how is it going on your end?" "Not so good either, I'm afraid. I only took one genin team in my long shinobi career. Jiraiya is the first student that I lost. I feel that it shouldn't be that way. Students aren't supposed to die before their sensei," Sarutobi responded. "It's all my fault, Gigi. I should have insisted to go with him when we split in Kusagakure. I knew it was a dangerous mission. I could have helped him against that Akatsuki member. Akatsuki, it's my fault again that we're investigating them in the first place. If it wasn't for me, Ero, Sennin would have never fought them to the extent of losing his life in order to discover their weakness," Naruto said as tears rolled down his cheeks. Sarutobi spoke to his surrogate grandson after placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Naruto, even though losing a student is new to me, I also lost both of my sensei when I was younger, so I can somehow understand your train of thoughts right now," the elderly gentleman began. "First of all, I'm sure Jiraiya told you that the Omegakure mission was an infiltration one. That means that he had more chance to success by working alone. Furthermore, nothing about Akatsuki is your fault, Naruto-kun. You are also a victim. You never chose to have the Kyuubi sealed in you," he went on. "Finally, I think I understand what motivated Jiraiya in his fight against the Akatsuki member. It is true that he could have easily fled the area with his skills, but he chose to remain. He knew that a confrontation against such a foe would have certainly resulted in death for anyone who would have come unprepared. He decided to stay and gather everything he could in order for you to win the fight next time against that enemy." The Sandaime gave up. Naruto uttered, "Me. I don't know what to do anymore." The old man smiled and recalled his own teacher's final words. "I have no doubt that the encrypted message he left with Fukasaku Sama was for you. Teachers always try to leave something behind for their students when they die. Before Tobirama Sensei died, he entrusted his will of fire to me. I'm sure Jiraiya did the same with you, Naruto. Saru, protect those who love the village and those who believe in you, and nurture those to whom you can entrust the next generation. Starting tomorrow, you are the Hokage." Then, as Jiraiya's words flashed through his mind, Naruto recalled a conversation he'd had with Jiraiya during their training trip 3 years prior. "Even I can see there's too much hate in our ninja world, and I wanted to do something about this hatred, yet I'm not sure what must be done. But I have faith that there will come a time when people can truly understand one another. And if I can't find the answer, perhaps I will entrust you to find it." Then, clenching his fist in the air with his right hand, Naruto yelled, "I'll find a way. I promise you, Jiraiya Sensei." The blonde said, "Thanks, Gigi. I think I know what to do now," before using Shunshin to make his way out. After that, Sarutobi turned to face the memorial stone once more and focused on the names Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina. Before he turned to slowly return to his house, the old man thought, "You would be both so proud of him, Minato, Kushina." Compound Namikaze Naruto was mentally and physically worn out when he got to his family compound that evening. He had met Iruka on the way back, and she had invited him to go have some ramen, but the blonde wasn't feeling particularly grouchy. Naruto just went to his room, showered, and went to sleep. He was on his way to her house because there was only one person he wanted to be with at this moment. Mental space. After Naruto joined Natsuki in his mindscape, the vixen waited for him outside her home with patience. She ran to him as soon as she saw him coming and gave him a big, comforting hug. It was Naruto who broke the embrace and started the conversation. "Hey Na-chan, I know you're still mad at me about the kiss thing with Mei, but I really wanted to see you tonight," Naruto said with a low voice. "Shush, it's all right now. I'm not mad at you at all. I was just frustrated that she could hold you in the real world while I can't," the vixen replied. I'll resume my research on the seal as soon as possible. Missions be damned, Ba. Chan won't be able to force me to take any additional mission until I find my father's notes on the Shiki Fusion, even if I have to use my clan head privileges for that. Naruto stated to her. Freeing me is not the most important thing right now. You have to discover what Jiraiya wanted to say in his dying message. Natsuki replied in kind. When she brought up his master, she could see the sorrow in his eyes. Then the redhead grabbed his arm and dragged him inside the residence. After heading to her room, she pulled him into her bed and held him close. Naruto pulled her into a tight hug and she smiled to feel his arms around her. Naruto whispered in her ear, I love you Na-chan, I wish we could stay like this forever. I love you too Naru-kun, that will never change. We still our whole lives in front of us. You need to focus on defeating the Akatsuki first. To do that you need to decrypt your master's last words. Natsuki replied. I will, but not tonight. I just want to hold you in my arms tonight, replied Naruto. That's how they fell asleep, cuddled up in each other's arms. Office of Hokage. The following afternoon, Naruto showed up at Tsunade's office with Shikamaru and Shiho, a scientist employed by Konoha's Intel Division's decryption department. It took them the whole morning to decipher Jiraiya's coded message for Naruto. It turns out that the pervert only wanted Naruto to get his message, using his own book as a guide. The real one is not among them, it stated. Even though Fukasaku was present, the message appeared too ambiguous for him to understand Jiraiya's true intentions. At that point, the older Toad made the decision to tell Naruto the great prophecy Jiraiya had been told. A long time ago, when Jiraiya-chan was still as young as you are right now, the great sage announced that he would journey all over the world, writing books. He would then one day take an apprentice, and that apprentice would later either become the savior or the destroyer of the world. Fukasaku continued. And you think that I'm the one mentioned in this prophecy? Asked Naruto. There's no doubt about it, you are Jiraiya's last living apprentice. He believed in you and sacrificed his life for you to defeat Akatsuki. We, of the Toad clan, will believe in you too. I'm sure that you are the one who will become the savior of this world. Fukasaku concluded. The elder Toad then departed from Konoha. Konoha has just lost one of its most potent summoning contracts because Jiraiya failed to select and train a successor to be the next Toad summoner. Unknown place Akatsuki was getting together once more in one of their usual dimly lit caverns. There was also the massive ceiling statue. There stood the 5 corpses of their victims in front of it. That's the last of them. Good work everyone. You all accomplished your missions and brought back your designated targets, the commander replied. It was a piece of cake. The Rokubi Jinchuriki had some nice moves, but in the end he stood no chance against our immortal powers. The Sanbi was even easier. Apparently the Kyuubi brat took him down at the request of the rebels. We just waited for them to transfer him to a secure place to kidnap him, Hidan boasted. The leader answered, everything went as I had expected. We turned his celebrity against him. Zetsu questioned, what now? You will continue to monitor the remaining Jinchuriki from afar. Don't let them notice you. Everyone else is on standby until further notice, the leader said. After that, they all departed, and the leader vanished into the night along with the Gedo Mazo. Compound Namikaze. A week had passed since Naruto's return. He was still going through his father's notes in the house. He had already checked all 10 corners of the library room, and his desperation was growing. Maybe you are looking at this from the wrong point of view. Are you sure the library room was the only place your father would have been working inside when he developed his techniques? Replied Natsuki. If we follow your reasoning, those notes could be everywhere inside the compound, and it's pretty damn huge, replied Naruto. It must have been his latest work since it's not inside the library, Natsuki continued. Then it should have taken place close to my day of birth. Where would he work during those days? Replied Naruto. If he's anything like you, I doubt he would have left the mother of his future child out of his sight for long, replied Natsuki. Naruto's eyes grew wide and he said, if that's the case then there's only one room where they would most likely pass those days. Naruto bounded into his parents' bedroom, which he had not touched since coming home. There were lockers, a big bed, and a little desk tucked away in a corner of the space. Naruto made the decision to examine the desk even though there was no obvious evidence of his father ever using it. Naruto sat behind the desk and tried to picture himself working there, but he saw nothing unusual. He closed his eyes for a moment, then abruptly opened them, glanced back at the desk, and discovered it. Beneath the desk, a seal was engraved. It was the same blood seal. His father's notes on the Shiki Fusion, which he had been searching for since moving into this house, were revealed when he opened the seal and a puff of smoke appeared on the table. Compound Namikaze seated in the library, Naruto felt secure in the airtight space that his blood could only pass through. The notes his father had written on the Shiki Fusion were sitting on a desk in front of him. Naruto had to concede that, upon first perusing its contents, the scroll represented the ultimate achievement in the art of sealing. It was developed to an unprecedented degree of complexity. Without Jiraiya's guidance, Naruto would not have been able to fully appreciate the remarkable nature of the seal his father crafted, so the young leader of the Namikaze clan felt compelled to express his gratitude to him once more. He had previously studied a good deal of advanced sealing jutsu using the Uzumaki clan scroll. Upgrading an old Uzumaki sealing jutsu also led to the development of the Yuki converting seal he currently possessed above his heart. Naruto could tell his father was an expert in fuinjutsu techniques based on the notes that were in front of him. The idea behind the Shiki Fusion was to contain half of Natsuki's Yuki within Minato, the caster, and the other half sealed inside Naruto, the target. The key, as with everything on Earth, can be used to counterbalance the seal. It was made concurrently with the seal's formation and possesses the power to unlock the seal's lock without instantly eliminating Naruto. That concludes it. I only have half of your Yuki Chan, which is why I was never able to access more than 5 taels of your power, said Naruto. That makes sense. No matter how you look at it, you were too young and fragile at the time for your father to seal all of my Yuki inside you. Natsuki answered. However, I must learn what my father did with that key. The notes state that since the jutsu claimed his life as soon as it was finished, he shouldn't have had much time to get away with it, Naruto continued. Then the only possible explanation is that he gave it to someone trustworthy who was also there that night, Natsuki went on. Gigi was present that evening. My father must have given him the key since it was he who brought me back to the village. As he got to his feet and left the room, Naruto said. What are you planning to do? Questioned the vixen. I'll go to the old man's family compound and ask him about it. In response, Naruto spoke. How are you going to tell him? I believed you stated he would object to you testing the seal. Natsuki inquired. Just the truth. Gigi already knows about you anyway, and I think we can trust him with the plan to save you and upgrade my power to the last level of the bloodline. As he left his house and hurried to the Sarutobi clan compound, Naruto answered. Compound Sarutobi. Naruto had only once visited the old man's compound, which was not far from his own home, while he was fleeing from a group of civilians who were attempting to harm him. The Sandame discovered him in the streets and took him inside the man's home. Naruto arrived to find Hiruzen in the garden, taking care of his plants. Hey Gigi, how are you doing? Naruto inquired. I'm fine my boy, what are you doing here? In response, the former Kage spoke. I need to speak with you about something personal. Can we go to a secure place to talk about it? Naruto stated in a grave manner. Sure, follow me inside. Naruto trailed behind Hiruzen, who said as he entered his manor. After touring the manor, the Sandame eventually came to a stop inside the sizable family dojo. Naruto suddenly glowed, indicating that his Gigi had just sealed it, as he entered the room. This should be good enough, we can freely talk here. I often used this room when I trained or developed new jutsu in secrecy, and the seal is as powerful as the one in the Hokage office. Naruto gave the old man a nod as he spoke. Thanks Gigi, now I'll go straight to the point. I found my father's notes on the Shiki Fusion. Declared to be the blonde Jonin. I see. How may I assist you? I'm not a beginner, but I never was good at fuinjutsu, so you definitely know more about it than I do these days. Hiruzen answered. Naruto sighed. Based on his response, it was clear that the elderly man was unaware that the key even existed. Nevertheless, Naruto trusted his gut and told him the entire tale, including the key, his prior assumptions about its location, and what he needed it for. I apologize, Naruto.kun. Although I was present on the night of the attack 16 years ago, Minato never gave me the key you mention. Nothing that appeared to be a key was present when I discovered you, following the dismantling of the barrier your father had used. Hiruzen informed him. If not you, then who is it? Arrow. Sennin informed me that he was on a spying mission that evening, so he wasn't present. It cannot be my mother because she also passed away on that day. Naruto said aloud his analysis. From the moment everyone in the village heard the explosion noises brought on by the charging Kyuubi until Minato appeared on the battlefield, riding atop Gamabunta, Hiruzen relived the entire scene in his mind. Obviously, how could I overlook that? That evening, your father was accompanied by another ally who rode into the battle on top of Gamabunta, his toad summon, stated Hiruzen. Then, the toads are in control. I really appreciate it, Gigi. I now know where to look for the key. Naruto grinned and continued. Are you doing it now? Would you please remember that when Fukasaku Sama left, you lost the one opportunity to get in touch with them because you refused to sign the Toad contract? The Sandaime answered. Naruto's eyes grew wide, and he forgot all about it. Upon noticing his substitute grandson's sorrowful expression, Hiruzen laughed before continuing. Well, there's still a way to get to them even without their contracts. I'm not sure whether it will work or not though, said the Sandaime. Really? Tell me, please, Gigi, Naruto begged. There are legends that claim the summoned creatures we call into our reality through summoning contracts are all from the same world. It is a sealed location that can only be reached by summoning or using the opposite method. If that's the case, this summoning world needs to be split up into regions, each ruled by a different kind of summoned creature. Enma is the leader of the Monkey Clan. Gamabunta is the leader of the Toad Clan. And Ruo is the Dragon King. They are all in charge of a portion of that summoned world. Sarutobi clarified. So if I could somehow able to convince the Dragon King to help me, then I may still be able to reach the Toad's realm. At last, Naruto said, receiving the Sandaime's nod. The blonde then turned and headed for his own house. Otogakure. Subterranean base 3 weeks had passed since Kabuto began preparing his master's soul transfer jutsu. The snake's condition worsened throughout that period as the effects of Naruto's Rasen Shuriken damage spread throughout his body. Since their return from the battle in Kusagakure with Naruto and Jiraiya, Orochimaru had been bedridden. I have good news, my lord. The preparations are finally over for your soul transfer technique. As Kabuto entered the room, he announced himself. Good. Have you poisoned his food and water as plain too? The Sannin answered. Yes, the first symptoms shall appear when you confront him. Kabuto grinned and said. Kukuku, the moment of my resurrection has finally come. Today I shall obtain the Sharingan, stated Orochimaru. I will summon Sasuke to your room immediately then. As he walked out of his master's room, Kabuto said. Kabuto stopped in the hallway immediately outside his master bedroom door. Then the medic dropped to his knees and bowed his head to one of the patients. Is everything ready, Kabuto? Questioned the shadow. Yes, my lord. Orochimaru won't put up much of a fight after receiving the poison as per your order. After his most recent battle, his body has become so weak that he can hardly channel any chakra at all. Kabuto answered. What about the other bases and their commanders? Once more, the enigmatic voice questioned. They have all been killed and replaced by new commanders, loyal to you only, my lord, Kabuto told him. How long do I have once you activate the temporary counterseal to his curse seal? Asked the voice. You will have 1 hour before he can use the seal against you again, Kabuto answered. Well, continue on here. I'll go take care of Orochimaru permanently. The shadow spoke as he gradually emerged from the dim corner and revealed his face. Yes, Uchiha. Sama. Still knelling in front of his new master, Kabuto said. Chidori Iso. A lightning beam left Sasuke's outstretched hand and passed through Orochimaru's room's wall as he spoke. Orochimaru's body was pierced by the lightning spear, causing the Sannin to bleed heavily. Orochimaru attempted, but was unsuccessful, to use the curse seal to make Sasuke obey him as he entered the room to defeat his opponent. Surprised that your little seal doesn't work anymore? Sasuke made fun of. How? Asked Orochimaru, who was experiencing numbness throughout his body after being pierced by a lightning spear. You should really pay more attention to your subordinates, and to never trust someone who already betrayed his last master to join you. The Uchiha answered. So you also betrayed me? Kabuto. The snake Sennin tried to play his final card slowly. Despite Orochimaru's best efforts, he was unable to use the jutsu to heal himself. In fact, the more Kabuto taught him over those 3 weeks, the more he hurt. Now that you've been given the poison you intended to use on Uchiha Sama, you ought to be feeling it. You are now devoid of both chakra and energy. As he also entered the room, Kabuto said. Why? Questioned Orochimaru. Want to know why? You've evolved. You're no longer the resilient person you once were. It seems like every plan you started recently has failed. Your time is over, and you will now join your former teammate in the afterlife. I've chosen to follow a stronger man. The medic Shinobi answered. Sasuke grabbed the kusanagi that was lying on the ground next to the snake's bed and chopped off his head before Orochimaru could respond once more. As the new leader here, I did not come to listen to your conversation with your previous master. Clear this area and then go collect everyone. As he left the room, Sasuke said this. Yes, Uchiha Sama, declared Kabuto, turning to face the Nidaime Otokage's retreating form. Compound Namikaze Naruto was in his personal training ground, inside the walls of his compound. He called his jutsu and went over hand signs. Ninpo. Kachiyose no jutsu. He slammed his hands on the ground and yelled. Hiryu the fire dragon appeared as the smoke created by the summoning jutsu subsided. What can I do for you today, Naruto? Sama questioned the dragon. I need to speak with Ruo. Sama, could you ask him to reverse summon me to your realm please? In response, Naruto spoke. Very nicely done, Naruto-san. I'll go let our king know about your request. The dragon replied, then vanished from existence. How long would it take Hiryu to actually meet with its leader? Was a question Naruto neglected to ask. Just as the blonde was about to enter his home again, he vanished in a puff of smoke. Dragon's realm in Summon World. After signing the contract 3 years prior, Naruto made a reappearance on the mountain where he had first encountered Ruo the Dragon King. What can I do for you, Naruto? Asked the Ruo as the blonde Dragon King touched down directly in front of her. When Naruto greeted the dragon leader, he bowed down and explained why he was there. Yes, you are aware that all summoned creatures are native to this planet. All of them are from one of the many lands similar to the one we are in right now. Making the blonde in front of him smile, Ruo declared. Then can you show me the way to the Toads area? Naruto inquired. The Toads membership in the alliance to which we, the Dragon Clan, belong is a great blessing for you. I would not have been able to assist you in meeting them if that had not been the case. Generally speaking, we are strictly prohibited from using our summoner outside of our sphere of influence. Ruo answered. Thank you for your help, I will immediately take my leave then. Saying so, Naruto called Hiryu. Overworld. Toad's domain. Naruto and Hiryu traveled 2 hours from the dragon's realm to the area of the Toad clan. Toads surrounded them as soon as Naruto's feet touched the ground upon landing. Name yourselves. How comes a dragon into this place, even with a human present? One of the Toads asked. Keep quiet, Gamatotsu. These are the visitors who arrived as foretold by the great elder sage. Another Toad yelled. Sorry Gamakichi, I've never seen a human before, I was a bit scarred. The first Toad answered. Just as Naruto was about to yell at them to stop fighting, a voice from the past spoke up. Stop talking, you too. Naruto. Chan, what are you doing here? Questioned Fukasaku as he emerged from the scene, brushing aside the other Toads. I came to inquire about something that, according to his notes, my father might have given to one of you on the day of my birth. He refers to it as the key. It's crucial. I have to know who my father called out from the Toads that day. Naruto clarified. I see, you are right when you assume that your father gave us the key's protection. But just because he was your father doesn't mean that you should get the key until you can demonstrate your worth. The elder Toad answered. I understand. What do I need to do in order to prove that I deserve it? Asked in a polite manner to Naruto. Our great elder sage has anticipated your arrival and is riding on one of our Dragon Clan allies. Come with me. When we get to his location, pay close attention because he will tell you what your future holds. Fukasaku was added. Did Ero Sennin had his fate revealed to him in the same manner I'm about to? Naruto inquired. Yes Jiraiya. Chan came here in the past, he had his fate revealed to him in the same manner you are about to in a few moments. Fukasaku answered. Fantastic. Then, I'm eager to see the Mega Elder Toad who has previously encountered Ero Sennin. With conviction in his voice, Naruto spoke.
That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this great story. See you in the next one.